Coffee and Cream on Hail Varsity Radio with Andrew Rogers and Damon Benning.
Well guarded by Royce O'Neal. Single coverage for now. Makes a move. Down the lane. Goes in and jams it. And beat right down Broad Street. A stump. And the Sixers go up by 9. They opted for single coverage and he makes them pay. Sixers by 7 with the ball. 5.5 to go. And Beat double covered. Out top now. Maxey for 3. The catch, the shot. It's good. He buried it. Fifth free. Jalen McDaniels got the ball in the corner, moved it back to the left wing, and Maxey drills it.
Dished it over to the far side. Krejci, he'll back it off. Center point now, McAvoy fading right. High slot, Zaka, far side. Krejci shoots. Lion the same rebound. He scores! David Pasternak got a puck hit across the slot. Lion was committed. He hammers it home. A power play goal. Bruins 1, Panthers nothing.
Jarvis with it. Ace inside of the net. Back to Jarvis. Minute 20 left on the power play. Nate just with it now. Backhand pass. Burns on score! Net front's there. Howitzer from Burns is there. Another power play goal. It's 2-0 Carolina.
Toss it left side. Steal to the back post. Cut off in front by Hartley, who couldn't get it out. Here's a turnover. Open in front. They score! They score! Ryan Hartman helps the Wild steal game 1 of a bouncing puck in front, and he wins his double overtime marathon in Dallas as the Wild prevail 3-2.
Hey, welcome in. Coffee and Cream in the morning on Hail Varsity Radio, powered by Currency. Damon Benning, looking as dapper as ever in the red with the new lighting as it beams down on us from the sky, from the heavens, as we like to call it at Hail Varsity Club.
Close encounters from the Hurrdat kind. You never seen Close Encounters from the Third Kind, have you?
Not the Hurrdat kind.
No, it's work for Hurrdat. It's a good job of thinking so soon this morning, Andrew. The lights are blue.
Yeah, the lights aren't on up here for me.
What's
They
the
may
matter?
be blue, but they're not on up here.
Are you sleepy?
Maybe a little bit. I cannot do the 9:30 game.
It's gonna test you.
I can't do it.
Are you joining the brigade to complain about the playoff start times?
Am I joining?
I mean, it was pretty much trending the last couple of days.
You know, it's not much the games because I can handle I'll go to bed at midnight. It's the overtime.
Overtime.
I can't stay up for.
One more call for.
I'm not gonna lie.
It's just 2 overtimes.
Not gonna lie. I did not watch the second overtime for Minnesota.
It says it's 2 overtimes. And how about hockey? Like, it's where yesterday made you.
I'm
feel,
on the brigade.
The who?
The brigade.
The brigade.
The British are coming, Shane.
Yeah.
It made you feel okay for taking the field yesterday. You had 2 of the 4 bigger dogs. I mean, getting good value, winning outright.
Mm-hmm.
Carolina's in a 1-goal squeaker, and Boston didn't play well for 2.5 periods.
Yeah, they're a team though that I'm like, they don't need to play well.
No, they got the 2 softy goals, right? They got the mush stick back, trickle, and
with great awareness.
And then letting Marchand get off the snide.
Yeah, Lions. He wants that one back.
Oh yeah. Oh, I think he wants both 2 and 3 back.
Okay, yeah.
Because 3 was kind of the scrum, and he thought he had it, and then it just kind of like trickled in.
I'm shocked the whistle didn't blow.
No, so they, when they were thinking about doing replay, they're like, not so much. Like, I mean, nothing you could do. It's just kind of a softy, mushy trickle around. Nobody could find it.
But
I don't know if he ever had control.
But the official comes from the wrong side of the ice.
I know, and I didn't think he could see.
And that's why I thought he would say he would blow the whistle dead.
But they gave it every opportunity for review, and you could see the head shake.
Oh, yeah. Well, and as long as there is no whistle, you can't then say, hey, this puck was covered up.
Omark is legit. They got to get a little more pressure on him, but, man, he's tough. He's tough.
Saw a lot of shots, too. And that was something that I wanted to pay attention to because I'm like, man, Bruins have such good defensive play.
I just wish he'd give up a few more rebounds. If you're going to win, he doesn't give up a ton of rebounds.
Right. So,
I mean, he's clean.
Florida does a nice job of peppering him, but and a lot of times I look at goalie play and I'm like, okay, well, the team's so good, you only see 18 shots. So that's why your numbers look so good. That's not the case with Olmark.
No.
He sees a lot of shots and he stops a lot of them too.
So, they didn't, and listen, rightfully so, they may sleepwalk a little and can probably afford to, but it is the playoffs. And this one, you don't want to be going back to Flo Rida 1-1. He chuckled like a child. He said,
I'm childish.
If we could play music, we'd be fine.
Yeah, we could play a bunch of Flo Rida.
But the Wild, who my man Adam left for dead.
I don't even know what to think about
isn't
that
it
game.
weird how they do it? I'm telling you, they don't even pass the metrics test. But it's just like just hanging around, and they find a way to win.
Right, and Dallas.
And then we saw what happened with your Shane's Los Angeles Kings.
Yep, all of ours. No.
Yeah, well,
maybe
it's
yours.
bittersweet because this is the team that I pegged to make the run, but not at the Oilers' expense because I picked the Oilers to win the cup.
And how about that game? That was a true Oilers.
Isn't that what they do?
Fold.
Yeah, it's what they do.
Mm-hmm.
They just cannot get over the mental hump. Like, feel free to win be good in
You're
crunch
up
time.
2 goals, DB, with 9 minutes to play.
You ain't got to tell your
and
boy.
you go to the box.
Yeah.
What are you doing in the box?
Yeah, undisciplined. It's lack of situational awareness.
Oh, did we talk about that at all?
Well, it's just it was unnecessary.
Mm-hmm.
It's unnecessary.
I'm with you. That was in true fashion Edmonton blowing a playoff dub.
And here we, so 2 of the dogs get out, and they say real playoffs don't start till you win one on the road. Well, it just got real for old Edmonton and Dallas. So here we go.
Here we are.
And you expect the Bruins to play better.
Well, we talk a lot about the President's Trophy curse, and then I really sat back and thought about it last night. There has not been a team ever in the history of hockey that's played as good of a season as the Bruins have.
No.
So I don't think the President's Trophy applies. The curse applies to them this year.
Ever?
Never, ever, never.
I kind of missed that guy. Maybe we should have him on, Shane. We could talk Jays and what else could we get away with?
From our guy Steve this morning, of course we have.
Steve
O'Donnell, our Bruins fan.
Oh, is he? You know,
nice win, even with not great play.
Is he always?
Couldn't agree more, Steve, on Twitter.
Oh yeah. There he is.
Oh, and here he is on YouTube too. He's on both. When we talk the Bruins,
good dude,
number 1 fan right there.
Good dude. The NHL is so coin flippy. I mean, it's not like almost any other sport where you just basically can take chalk and feel good.
Mm-hmm.
NHL always does something different in the postseason. It just doesn't pay to be too chalky.
See, I was actually thinking the latter last night. I told my brother bet all the favorites.
Yeah,
home favorites, bet them all at home, and it looked good right off the start.
And he lost a little juicy juice.
Yeah, he lost a little juice, but at the end of the day,
well, probably more than that with such big faves.
You assess the game. Who played better in every game?
Well, for 2.5, for 2 1/4, for 2 1/3, since it's in threes, the Panthers did.
Right.
Carolina played.
They played the better one.
But that one's kind of close.
Islanders were getting after it late.
You could make the case that Edmonton played better than the Kings. But the Minnesota set the physical tempo early.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they were smacking Dallas the first couple of minutes in that one. Like, they came out ready to skate, and Dallas took the quick penalty, and they kind of settled down. But I don't know, man.
But early second period, total momentum shift in that game.
Minnesota's so grimy. God, they're grimy.
What did you think of the hit by Matt Dumba on Pavelski?
Oh, I thought that the league should probably take a look.
I couldn't believe he got 2 minutes. Yeah. Just 2.
No. They're going to have to.
You have a guy that gets hit up high.
They're going to have to probably take a look, especially in the playoffs.
I mean, he was weak in the knees as he stands up.
Yep. Yeah. It wasn't good.
Helped off.
Hey.
2-minute penalty. It's just 2.
Like my
we'll
man.
Play 4-on-4.
Bo Pelini said wasn't pretty.
That thing wet.
Yeah. They'll have to take a look at that. And then on the NBA side of things,
yeah,
the league's going to have to take a look at what Draymond did.
Well, just ask Klay Thompson. He's not a. I mean,
but he grabbed his leg though, DB.
Man,
grabbed his leg.
Listen,
as Sabonis is at fault for grabbing his leg, but you cannot put force stepping down into somebody's body. You cannot do that.
Don't touch me.
That's exactly what it was.
Oh, I know.
Exactly what it was.
We saw 57 angles of it.
Mm-hmm. And at first I was like, ooh, because when you see the high angle, you would actually think Sabonis is in the wrong because you can see him wrap the leg and then you kind of see Draymond trip. Now he tried to sell it as he did his little jump out of the hold. But then you see it from behind the hoop. And then you see it from
behind the hoop,
Draymond front on, and all of a sudden,
behind the hoop,
and
what's up, Coach?
You just see a bam right down on the ribs.
Mm-hmm. They're old riblets.
It was just one lick on an ankle.
Which, by the way, I almost bought yesterday with my mom. We hit several shopping places yesterday, and. Almost got some riblets, but I did get some feather bones.
Did mom pay?
I mean, for the we split it at Fairway. She just wanted her stuff bagged up first, which is fine.
So she didn't pay for everything?
No.
Would she have paid for everything?
But you have to see with her, what you have to do is you have to go first.
Oh, so you know the drill.
Yeah.
So that you don't feel guilty.
Yeah. And so one of the places, actually 2. So one of the grocery stores, we got to meet the guys that like the district manager. So he was telling us about all these little perks and this 10% discount and these meat things, because this was a particular store where they had racks of ribs 3 weeks ago, and they were literally like $3. He had 5,000 racks. I can't remember how many pallets. So he's just like giving them away at a ridiculous price. Yesterday he said he ended up losing money. Did not think that they were going to run through 5,000 racks of ribs, but they did. So anyway, yesterday was a pick 5 for $25. So you could get, and there were lots of things. Like you could get like oxtails or split chicken breasts. You could get thighs. You could get drumsticks. You could get St. Louis ribs. You could get feather bones. So it was literally
get a lot of things.
Like mix and match 5 for $25. And so she did take care of my sister. She got my sister a lot of food because my sister's in from St. Louis, and for whatever the reason, even though you guys are supposed to do good barbecue, there are lots of cuts of meat she has a hard time finding there, so she freezes them. But my sister's here, and she's just going to put them in the cooler and drive them back.
I think it's
so we hit 3 places, and then we kind of just toured parts of Omaha.
Cool. Okay.
Like what used to be around, what's not around.
Just you and your mom or your sister too?
No, just me and my mom.
Okay. Nice.
Yeah. I get home until like a little after almost 2.
Okay.
And I got her like we hustled and did all those recordings, and I got her at like 10:45.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, we had to go to Target. And
I don't know how you do that.
But go to Target?
Yeah, that's a lot going on in there. That'll. You like those stores where you have to be disciplined. Target is a store where you need.
Well, I know what I need, right? I don't go. I don't look around.
You knew what you needed at Just Good Meats too.
Yeah. I did grab too much at Just Good Meats. You're right.
Yeah.
But no, I had to go to the travel section. Like that's all I.
Oh, you want the little stuff?
The little bottles.
Yeah, no, I'm with you.
So I just went there, looked in the travel section, got some sunscreen.
Isn't it amazing how sometimes those sections are ran through?
Because this one kind of was.
Hey, so we do that because we're gone all the time. Like literally every other week. Like we're here back-to-back weekends, and it's like the first time ever. But we run through those travel sections, and they're always picked over.
The body wash I like to get, a little bottle of Harry's, just not there. Just completely empty.
Yeah.
I'm like,
I like the little powder. So the one thing I can't do with those is the little deodorant. Those are like 2 rubs, and they're like this big.
And they're so uncomfortable.
The boys have their shaving kits, so they know like they need their toothbrush or toothpaste, a little thing of powder, deodorant. Sometimes it's hand lotion, and that's what we throw. We just replenish that because there's nothing worse than packing and you're getting ready to get on the road and it's like, hey, just grab the kit.
Yeah,
we're rolling.
I'll always do that though,
and we're rolling.
Always. Yeah. I'm always the guy that's like, all right, let's run through it again. 2 minutes later, let's run through it again. I got to make sure I have that extra pair of socks. And did I grab that bottle of shaving cream? What did I forget over the weekend? I know I forgot. Oh, I forgot my hairbrush.
Oh, see, I keep 2, one in my pocket and one in the car.
Yep. It's
like 6 in the clip and 1.
I do my entire run through about 4 or 5 times. Get to the hotel, realize that I don't have a brush.
So I even travel with quarters and a pod for laundry. And I don't even know how we got on this. We were just talking sports. You don't remember, but there's a guy, Tink Collins, who used to play for Oklahoma. And his cousin is Patrick Collins, who used to play running back for Oklahoma. And so there's just really friendly guy. Like there's only like 3 laundry machines, and it's early, right? Because I'm not trying to be up. And Micah played at 8, so I'm washing his uniform and stuff. And my man has just struck up a conversation. He's like, "Hey, where are you from? What grade you playing with? Yada yada yada." And he's like, "Yeah, my team's from Oklahoma." And I was like, "Oh yeah, we played Griffin Elite, good team in the morning." He's giving me the scouting report, and so I said, "Oh, where are you from?" And he told me. And I said, "That's funny." I said, I just sent a text to a guy from Oklahoma, but I don't know if he's in Oklahoma right now because he's kind of random with the text back." And he goes, "Oh, who's that?" I said, "Oh, it's Charles Thompson." He said, "Oh man, I played with that guy." I said, "No, stop." He said, "No, seriously." He said, "Pull your phone back out." So I pulled my phone out. He said, "Is it da 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 da?" And I go, "Yeah, that's his number." He said, "Take a picture, send it to him, tell him we're doing laundry."
Did you know who you were talking to?
Well, apparently it was Tink Collins.
Oh yeah, Tink. Everybody knows Tink.
Well, he said that's what called. He said, "Tell him you're talking to Tink." I just was like, okay. So short story long. He only had like a jersey and one other thing, and you can't unlock the washer unless you go get help, which I guess is good. But man, that joker didn't need to be in there on rinse or spin for like 30 minutes, right? Or 14. It's a jersey.
Your jersey?
So I'm like, man, just take that out, man. Throw that thing in the dryer. Because I'm waiting. Right. And so he left me like 16 minutes on his dryer.
What a guy.
No, but here's the thing though. So you have to be pot committed because like it was $3, by the way. Yeah. $3
to just wash some clothes.
Yep. And so $6 if you wanted to dry. Yeah, real talk. It's the highest I'd ever seen. 175 had been the highest, but this was
going up in price.
So I took his last 16 minutes and then I just air dried his uniform the rest overnight. Because it was almost
just hanging on a chair or something.
Yeah. And it was straight.
He wakes up in the morning, puts it
he's
on. He's like
wet
during the game.
It's
like,
wet. No, but yeah. So
why does it feel soapy, Dad?
So there was just I just met a ton of Oklahoma people, and apparently a lot of guys that we played with or against have kids, and they're flipping good. Like
athletes breed athletes.
Like way good. Speaking of which, how about Nebraska getting Koa Pete on campus for an unofficial basketball visit? We've seen that guy like 3-4 times in over the last summer and part of the spring. Like, he's the real deal he may be 16 now, maybe. He was just turning 15 in California last year. And Nebraska's got him on campus for a visit or an unofficial. That is unbelievable. He's top 3 or 4 in the country.
Top 3.
You know, and I don't like his skill set is interesting. Like, he's not super physical, but he's young, so I don't hold that against him. He's not real sudden, but man, he can create space. He's got good mid-range game. That's impressive.
And whether or not he chooses to come to Nebraska,
what
does that do?
We almost had his brother in football,
right?
The story that almost was.
What does that do? Well, it tells other recruits in 2025, hey, maybe I'll check that out too.
Well, you get a 2024 4-star already, so it's like
you're on that path, right? You're on that trajectory.
Yeah.
But if you see a guy in your class and you're like, well, if he's checking that place out, I should too. Why would I inconvenience myself think by not doing that?
I've got to look at more of the Nebraska or basketball facilities. So we saw Arkansas when they're in Fayetteville.
How's that, Jim?
It's okay.
Nothing special?
Nah. It's fine. And, you know, obviously I've seen, you know, Minnesota, been to Michigan State, been to Purdue. Nebraska's basketball facilities, they don't have to take a back seat to anybody. So if you get them on campus, the problem is you haven't won anything ever.
Seems like a resounding problem.
You know, but you're talking like just a tournament game. You're talking about an NCAA tournament game, not one. And the list is so short of other Power 7, 8 major Division I schools that have, like it's like you're at a party and you're looking around and you're the only one on the dance floor.
Oh, I've been there, done that. But I feel good about it.
But it's just
Nebraska doesn't feel good about their
It's just a crazy kind of, I don't know. He's for a program that hasn't won anything of significance. They're kind of at least having some positive buzz. Now I get it, right? Oh, is it going to be the Raiola tease and this, that, and the other? But remember, you still got time. In hoops, a lot of times those guys don't waver either. I mean, you get the occasional flakes, but other schools typically don't continue to recruit guys once they lock in. So I don't know. At least basketball's got some momentum.
Speaking of recruits, or either commits, I should say, Creighton got Stephen Ashworth yesterday.
Yes, they did.
Out of the portal, big addition.
That was like 4:00, right? That came it was later in the day.
Yeah. Stephen Ashworth going to be the new point guard for the Creighton Blue Jays. We will get talk about that. We'll also chat with Joel Lorenzi about NBA. So we'll do that at 9:00.
And Creighton.
In Creighton.
Do you say Creighton?
I say Creighton.
Or do you say
on the T?
Do you say Creighton?
No, it's ton. Creighton. I enunciate.
Wow, you are a little.
And sleep well.
Got a little edgy this morning. Yeah, that's okay. A little edge is good.
Brandon Vogel coming your way at
edge.
7:45. We'll talk the NFL Draft at 8:00 with Russell Brown. A couple of interesting points about Nebraska football that I'd like to get to. We will do that later on in the show, and the Sports Six Pack as well. Stick around.
Rogers and Benning will be back in 5 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 4 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 3 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 2 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 1 minute. Rogers and Benning will be back in 30 seconds. Coffee and Cream with Rogers and Benning on Hail Varsity Radio.
Hey, welcome back, 888-638-4876. If you'd like to get involved at any point, Coffee and Cream in the morning on Hail Varsity Radio, powered by Currency. I feel like I got my voice back a little bit today.
So it's all good. Sometimes you just got power through, man.
Right. Little emergency, a little bit of tea, some hot coffee, courtesy of the Beanery.
I did a show
Did you guys
on
hear
the floor once. I was so embarrassed. My back hurt and I could barely talk. But I was like, yeah, at least I'm at work. That's better than taking a day off.
Absolutely.
And so if you got to power through, man,
And
I know what you really sound like. It's fine.
I hate sick days.
Yeah, I hate my voice. So sometimes
you guys,
breathing.
you guys hear any of the Cubs game yesterday?
Hey, why?
With Pat? I say that because he sounded just like Andrew yesterday.
Now the pitch runners go. Here's a drive. Deep left center. That ball's got a chance. Gone.
Yep, he was at the wedding singing Mr. Brightside.
I was wondering if he was there with you.
He was,
so I played that.
Salisbury.
I played that on Spotify. I know that song. That's a stupid song. Like, why are you so in love with that song?
That is.
And then Severe said it was my alias. I was like, funny guy.
That is the song that you heard at every house party in college.
Yeah,
every single one.
Hey, but I get it. Your kind of house parties, not my kind of house parties.
Yep.
I didn't do house parties. Well, yes, I did. I'm not, no cap. Hey,
like beach houses or like what?
yeah, we were.
Hey, listen. Yesterday you were very, very good with the buttons.
Okay, I'll be quiet.
Today you are not off to a good start. All right, little dude. Hey, by the way,
that ball's got a chance.
Do you know how many hits they had
in the Cubs game?
Yeah. So it was 10-1. They beat the lowly A's. How many hits do you think the Cubs had?
I feel like you're going to ask this question, and it's going to be significantly lower than I think. So I'm going to say 6.
10 runs on 6 hits?
Yeah, I'm going to take a chance.
How about 20?
All right. So it was a ton of hits for a ton of runs.
They had 20 hits yesterday. What are we doing as a major league franchise?
Did you see?
Is that why you had such the horse?
Bro, 20 hits. He was probably getting it.
Did you see the A's fans come out and say, "Hey, it's not us. Like, we're going to do a revival day, and we'll show that the fans support this team, this city."
Hey, 10 unanswered too. They got up 1-0.
In Oakland that come out to that football stadium. Let's see.
Like, I don't know. I feel bad because I'm Team Brunsey, but man, that's a bad baseball team. And when they lose, they get drubbed.
And when they win, it's good for the sport. When they lose, it's like,
those have been few and far between.
How many AAA teams could beat that A's
all over
team?
the place this season?
How many AAA baseball teams could beat the Oakland A's?
I don't know. I feel bad saying that.
And you know what? I should go one step further. How many teams could get a series win against them? Because any team could win on any.
Yeah, I don't know. Probably not many. You wouldn't think. Otherwise, they're doing their farm system wrong.
I bet you could find at least 10 teams that get a series win over the A's.
So too soon to be mad that the team that I said was going to be very good in the NL West has gotten both of our teams. Or do we just let it play out?
I just am letting it ride right now. I cannot.
Dude,
I felt like Jack Flaherty yesterday. Do I see Jack?
Yep.
Jack at the top of the dugout. Just.
Do I need to say this again? The Diamondbacks are good, right? I said before the season even started. I said that's going to be a good baseball.
Yeah, they're not
team.
good when I bet on them though.
They've won 10 times. So are you taking them at the wrong times?
Sure.
They're like 10-7.
And I think I've bet on them 3 times, and I am
All
part of that
seven losses
somewhere.
So
I'll carry the 2.
The Dodgers dropped below 500, which is okay because they're still in second place. That West is struggling.
What was that?
Struggling.
No, can I hear it one more time?
Nope.
Why not?
Nope. You got
Shane, clip it.
You got 4 teams under 500 in the West.
It is,
and apparently, so here's the other thing too. Before we get to Brandon Vogel coming up and your Nebraska football hot takes,
in my hot takes.
Well, you've had a couple and they may stick. I'm kind of pissed because you're not supposed to be good at this yet.
I'm just a good guesser,
dude.
Look at my ACT score.
So that made me forget what I was going to say. So apparently, we both had zero clue what we were talking about when we said we were over the Brewers hype.
Yep.
And how
maybe,
but wait a minute though. So maybe this year is the year that, since we kind of left them for dead, that they're actually playing well because they're hammering folks. Like the Brewers appear to be pretty good, and if they're scoring runs, you got to figure they'll be okay. But now that run differential is at 32. They got 12 wins.
Meanwhile, the sirens are going off on the St. Louis Cardinals. -10 in the run differential column.
That's not good.
Yeah, but plus 32 for the Brewers, and we did poo-poo on them to open the year.
You could be plus 16 in the run column like the Dodgers and have a losing record.
Yeah, how about
losing record because they haven't won close.
How about
close
that
games.
walk balk yesterday?
Yeah, that's what they do. That's the Mets, man.
You see Freeman go for 2. You see Muncy hammer one, and the lights go dark before the ball even left the yard.
They needed
and you load the bases in the 7th.
They needed a walk-off to keep from getting swept versus the Cubs.
You load the bases in the 7th inning with nobody out, and you still only let up 1 run.
Hey, listen, for sure.
There was a balk.
It's freaking Dustin May start
Was
too
it,
that
was
they
it, was it
ruined.
1? Maybe it was 2.
Cut it out, man. Nobody asked you.
It's awesome. Love it.
How your Cardinals?
Yeah, there it is. Yeah, let's go right back to me. Huh? Back to you. Now back to me. Now back to you.
Say like nah.
Nah.
And then we were also low on the Rays. Like, let's be honest.
Oh yeah.
Call it as it is.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's early, so I'm not gonna cry. But
plus 65.
Where are the Pirates right now? Because I think they have double-digit wins.
10-7.
Unbelievable.
They are 10-7. The Cardinals gave them 2.
I wouldn't mind seeing them be okay, though. I kind of like
another
Bucks.
team that I think would be good for baseball to finally be good again.
Yeah, it'd be nice. It's been a long time since Willie
Stargell. For you. Like,
yeah,
big Penguins fan.
It is. But so funny, right? Because when the Steelers were cornering the market and the Pens when I was a kid.
Did you notice how I only brought up the Penguins when I said good town for
That's
you?
fine. That's totally fine. As you're wearing that lousy Bear sweatshirt. But look, it's not personal.
You're not getting my 9th pick, just so you know.
Hey, we're not going to get either one of the DBs I want because both Spoon and Porter Jr. will probably be gone. But that's okay. Maybe we'll get the little kid from Maryland.
Are you sure you didn't play for Colorado?
Do you know why I could not hit the trifecta and gravitate towards the Bucks? It is so DB. Because I did not like that stupid We Are Family Sister Sledge song that they played with Willie Stargell and those guys. Yeah, like I'm like, and everybody was kind of vibing to it. So of course I went the other way, right? Everybody in my family
kind of like the wave.
So like I fell in love with the Steelers. I fell in love with the Pens, and I just was like,
You had a chance to be a Bonds fan there. I mean, it would have been.
Couldn't stand Barry Bonds for the most petty of reasons.
He didn't take steroids when he was in Pittsburgh?
No, that ridiculous cookie duster.
The duster.
He looked terrible.
And that's why you don't have one, right?
Okay,
you go the other way.
Yeah, so I'm shallow like that.
Oh, man.
Why don't I like Walter Payton? I hated his running style. Like he just didn't look sweet in his gear, so I'm like, I'm not really vibing with Walter.
I don't think Walter cares too much.
So, no, I know. My point is, I know you're like the great defender, but my point is
coming in like Russell Westbrook.
Yeah, that's very true.
But I feel like I should choke you from time to time to see if I can put my thumbs right by your esophagus. Like I'm shallow like that. So like if I don't really like the way something looks, I can't get into it, even though doesn't mean you weren't very good, right? I hated Emmitt Smith's running style, but he was good. I just hated to watch him run. So I'm kind of like that with Walter, and I know that's not very.
What about
popular.
Jerome? Not Michael
If you
Jerome.
don't love it, leave it.
Bettis?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. See, I wasn't a fan. But I wasn't a fan because I couldn't stand the body type.
That was kind of like your stereotypical running back, though.
It's kind of I'm telling you, man, like I'm weird. Like
were you
I
a
love
fan of the fridge?
No, I like the guys and gals that are kind of like a little more effortless. You know, that's kind of what suits my eye.
Yeah.
Big Edgerrin James guy. I love Portis. I like D-Dick. You know, I like those gliders.
Smooth runners.
Yeah. Those laborers.
Yeah. I can understand that.
Just me. Just me.
Yeah, Walter Payton won me a Super Bowl, so I'm cool with it.
You do you.
Vogel up next.
Rogers and Benning will be back in 4 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 3 minutes.
I thought they had great energy. Comparing it to the last one, I don't know that I can do that. I thought they had great energy. There was a lot of people there today. I mean,
Rogers and Benning will be back in 2 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 1 minute. Rogers and Benning will be back in 30 seconds. Coffee and Cream with Rogers and Benning on Hail Varsity Radio.
I thought they had great energy. Comparing it to the last one, I don't know that I can do that. I thought they had great energy. There was a lot of people there today. I mean, the governor, walked out and talked to the team before practice. I mean, that's pretty. You don't get that many places, but you get that at Nebraska. So, I think they had good energy today. I think they were excited to go. I think they were excited for the scrimmage. Yes, please.
Coach Rule coming back here on Coffee and Cream in the Morning on Hail Varsity Radio, powered by Currency. They aren't relaxing this week. And you know who else isn't relaxing? Our next guest, Brandon Vogel. We'll bring him in via StreamYard. Shane, bring him in now. Brandon Vogel's managing editor at Hail Varsity, at Brandon L. Vogel on Twitter. Brandon, good morning.
Good morning, guys. How are you?
Good. Hey, how crazy is it? So last practice I was at, I saw Cleet Pillen. Talked to him for a while. Next Nebraska practice, it's Jim Pillen. Talked to him for a while. Like, when you look at Coach Rule wanting to stay firmly planted in like the grinder grassy roots. How hard of an uphill battle is it with all the frills and the perks that come with the JOB?
I mean, I think it can be tough, and it's been kind of an interesting, I think, intersection of so two things. So you've got that piece of it, like staying in the grassroots, like let's just get a little bit better today. Focused on making this football team better. But you've also had things coming across that, I haven't been at those Saturday practices. I believe you probably have, Damon. It sounds like they've been pretty extensive, and not just in the number of people there, but Trev Alberts just said a while ago, like there have been people in Nebraska football alumni who maybe haven't felt as welcome based on the eras that they've played in. So you've got that piece of it too. So I think Rule specifically has done a good job of kind of navigating those two things of like, we want you guys here, from a pure nuts and bolts sense of running a practice. Well, you got to get around and say hello and do some of those things. But for now, he seems up for just about all of it.
Vokes, you are big into stats. You're a really deep thinker. I remember reading a piece in Hail Varsity's magazine right when I first signed on with Hurrdat, and I'm like, who is this guy?
Yeah, he's been a day wonder.
Like, I'm really, who knows this information? Like, who dives super deep? And it was Brandon. And so, I want to ask you this: based on what you've been compiling over the last few seasons, what stats kind of stand out, or maybe are still alarming to you, based on what you've kind of compiled, just your overall knowledge, and what would you like Matt Rule to take care of by the first week or first game of fall?
Well, I mean, we've talked about it. This is one that, I'm not even going to get super deep into it. The turnovers piece of it is out there, and it's been.
He told you yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's been bizarre in how that has happened at Nebraska. Like, they've kind of been due for a turnaround on that for years and years, really going back to the Bo Pelini era towards the end, and it just hasn't come. So we'll see. I don't know how much you can actually do about that, because every coaching staff in the country is trying to do something about it. The big one for me that's kind of residual from the Frost era is the kind of conversion rate between what they were doing in offense. And you can look at that from the yards that they gained. I tend to look at it from kind of a success rate, which is just measuring how often you're on schedule. Like, they had a success rate from 2018 to basically last year that ranked in the top kind of 40 in the country. They didn't win like a top 40 team, did they? And it dipped a little bit in 2022. You obviously had the coaching change, but can that offense kind of can it stay on schedule as consistently as Nebraska had in the past? And then two, can it show up at the end of the day on the scoreboard? So getting those kind of conversion rates in place is a big one. You're not going to learn that after just one game, but it would sure be encouraging to see it against the team Nebraska hasn't beat since 2018 in that opener at Minnesota.
What's interesting, outside of saying tight ends and fullbacks like the second weekend, we haven't talked much about style, right? He says he wants to run the football and be physical. But how about how he just talks about protecting the ball and taking it away? That's really the only thing, like, the fan base knows about how he wants to play. He's talking about a manner in which they play, which I think is slightly different than style of play. It's not, you know what I mean? It's like he's talking about fundamentals and turnovers, not, RPOs and inside zone. Like, he's kind of been consistent with that too.
Yeah, he has. It's something that I don't know that he's been asked specifically about, but if you kind of piece together all of the various things he said, and he's kind of, Matt Rule's doing a little bit of the national interview circuit now, which is pretty normal as you come out of spring football. Like, I get the sense that a lot of this is pointed towards the fourth quarter, which is interesting. Which a lot of people can do that. A lot of coaching staffs do that too, but to get to that place where if you're going to treat the fourth quarter like this is when we win, if we can rush for 100 yards in the fourth quarter, we're going to win, which, may be a fairly obvious point, but I'm sure it's true. To get there, you've got to be pretty clean throughout. You've got to take care of the ball and take the ball away. And that's the big thing with Nebraska of the past 5, 6, 7 seasons was they would fall behind early. They'd have to expend a ton of energy. So you get to the fourth quarter and maybe it's a close game, but you don't feel like you're in control. So I think it's just a little bit of changing a mindset for this team. And, we won't know until the fall if it takes, but it's been an approach that stands out to me as a little bit different from what the Huskers have had.
Vogel, how many coaching changes have you been a part of?
So I started covering the team right at the start of the Bo Pelini era. So Pelini, Riley, Frost to Rule now.
So roughly 3, 4. My question to you is this: since you've seen how those coaches have first made their way here, what they've done in their first year, and now you see what Coach Rule's doing, have you been overthinking this offseason at all as you try and predict what's to come this fall?
Well, I'm worried that I'm overthinking every offseason. But this one's been difficult, I think, for me personally when I just look at it, because I do, as we are less than a week away from the spring game, I do have a good sense of optimism coming out of this. I try to couch that of, well, is it just year one type of stuff? And I think the best way I can put it now is here's where I'm at going into the spring game. Nebraska for the past 4 or 5 seasons, whether you look at the Vegas win totals or you look at some of the various power ratings that are out there, has kind of started most of those years at about 6 wins. Some years it's 5.5, some years maybe it's 7, but that's about where it's at. That's the top of the bell curve, and I think realistically 1 to 2 games above or below that is still the fat part of the bell curve, that you can get there with just a little bit of good luck or a little bit of bad luck. What's different for me with Rule is I feel as confident as I have that they're going to be kind of at the apex of that bell curve. Let's call it 6 wins just for sake of argument. I think they're more likely to go to the right side of that than they are the left side, which is where Nebraska has basically ended the last 6 seasons. It's been, here's maybe your true level, and it just hasn't quite gotten there. So
B-Vogues, last year I asked the question, would Nebraska have a successful season? As little as we had to talk about the quarterback. This year, when you get designs on the offense, will Nebraska have a successful season if we're talking a lot about quarterback play or if we're talking a little about quarterback play? I was dead wrong a year ago. That's all I talked about was quarterback play.
Yeah, that's
mostly because it's play calling, but
yeah, that's a really interesting one, because my gut goes to for me, the one I'd pick right now would be the less we talk about the O-line, as it might be the barometer for.
So that's what I was going to ask as a follow up, but he just brought it up.
But yeah, they kind of go hand in hand. Man, it's tough. I could think about this for a while, because not hearing about the quarterback, I think, indicates that you're probably fine. You're not getting like excellent play, but you're getting what you need. So I guess if I had to choose one of those two, I'd probably say, give me that for the offensive line, and I'll deal with what we got to talk about at quarterback. And I guess, I would be surprised going into the year if 6 games into the season, we're like, Nebraska is getting like what top 3-4 quarterback play in the Big Ten. They might. And, if you look at it from a numbers perspective, Casey Thompson wasn't far off of that actually when he was playing. Turnovers were a little bit too high, but beyond that. So, yeah, I think it might be still defined by the offensive line for me, which feels like a cop-out, feels like it's been the case for a while, but that's where I'm at.
Vogues, in 30 seconds, what are you looking forward to, or what are you hoping to see out of the spring game on Saturday?
Yeah, I think one on each side of the ball. Like, I'm just going in pretty open-minded, looking to get a sense of what they're trying to do offensively, because we've heard it talked about We've seen snippets from practice, but I'd like a little bit longer look at that. Defensively, it's going to be mostly about kind of mindset and aggressiveness, I think, are the big things for me coming into Saturday.
I think aggressiveness is kind of becoming a
theme.
A theme. People want to see folks flying around.
Thanks, B-Folks. We appreciate you, and have a great rest of the week.
Thanks, Brandon.
You too, guys. Thanks a lot.
That's the managing editor at Hail Varsity, at Brandon L. Vogel on Twitter. When we come back, we will change gears, go one step up, and talk the NFL Draft, which takes place April 27th. That's, 9 days away now?
It's close.
We are very, very close to seeing who the first overall pick will be. We'll talk to Russell Brown next.
Rogers and Benning will be back in 4 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 3 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 2 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 1 minute. Rogers and Benning will be back in 30 seconds. Coffee and Cream on Hail Varsity Radio with Andrew Rogers and Damon Benning.
Top of the hour here on Coffee and Cream in the morning on Hail Varsity Radio, powered by Currency. 8 o'clock. Looking at your phone, looking at your watch. That's the time you will see. We're here to talk about the NFL Draft now. And doing so, we are going to bring in Russell Brown, NFL Draft Analyst at Fantasy Pros, at Russ NFL Draft on Twitter. Lots to get to, lots to ask. He can clear up the questions. Russell, good morning.
Hey, guys. How are you?
Good, Russell. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on. I always appreciate the time.
Russell, Bryce Young taking home now 1,400 odds as the favorite to go number one. He seemed like the unanimous pick coming out of college last season, but then things started to sway C.J. Stroud's direction. Then it was Anthony Richardson's direction after the combine. Why is the consensus now Carolina is all in on Young? What have you seen? What have you heard?
Yeah, it really looks like that's going to be the direction that they go for a lot of reasons, right? I mean, I think he's kind of the clear-cut favorite as far as the best quarterback in this draft. He does a consistent job of reading through progressions consistently, and he goes through those progressions on a consistent basis. But he's got the ability to drop throws into a bucket, and he plays that quarterback position like a point guard. I mean, the way he navigates and kind of slithers through the pocket, if you will, and gets away from defenders and eludes them, it's special, and it's different from anybody in this class. So I think the big thing is, size and frame. Can he withstand the contact that he's going to get in the NFL? But I think he's somebody that if you're looking for a day one starter, which Carolina is, I think he's the one that can kind of put your team over the top, or at least get as close to the top as possible. So I think that's why it's really trended in that direction with Carolina, and I think that's what they're looking for. They're looking for a guy that can make an impact, sell tickets, and potentially compete in an NFC South that's very winnable at this point in time.
Yeah, speaking of trends, it seems like before the draft and combines and personal workouts, we kind of loved this wide receiver. Well, I don't know if we like this wide receiver draft. We're like, wow. It seems like NFL execs have kind of cooled a little on some of the wide receivers. When you look at the depth in this draft, it's obviously not going to be some of the previous years, but what's your general thoughts on the wide receiving group this year?
It's very up and down. I mean, it's like ice cream. It's pick your flavor, and are you into a bunch of 5'9", 175-pound slot receivers? Because if you're looking for that prototypical X receiver, you might not find it in this draft. I feel like in previous drafts, we've seen, some dogs, some alpha players that really excel, with high pointing at the football or just attacking at the catch point, or are, great route runners. I don't think that's really in this class. I mean, there's some guys that flash consistently here and there, but overall, I think it's just a down year. I mean, Jordan Addison's my top-ranked receiver. He's number 17th on that board. He's 5'11", $173, and he runs in that 4.45, 4.5 range. So he's not a guy that's going to be a burner. He's not overly explosive, but he's a very good route runner. Look at Josh Downs. He's 5'9", 171. He's my fifth-ranked receiver, and the way he runs his routes with a certain pace, it's NFL caliber, but his size limits him to just the slot. So we're seeing a lot of guys that are going to play in the slot. Jackson Smith and Jigba could be the same way, but you get guys like Quentin Johnston who can't really separate. It kind of doesn't work into your favor if you're, the size of an X receiver and your three-cone row is very poor, and then you come out and you're not able to separate. Mm-hmm. It's going to make life a little bit difficult for you. So I think that's the key here is there's just really no alpha. There is no CeeDee Lamb. There is no Jamar Chase. We've seen those in previous years. We don't see it here.
Russell, stay right there. A guy we're following closely this time around is Trey Palmer. And I've seen some mocks having him as early as round 2. Now, that seems unlikely, but not impossible. Most have him around the 3 to 5 round range. PFF had him as a day 3 pick to the Chargers in their most recent mock. So just hypothetically, if that happens, how much would he thrive in that system based on his skill sets?
Yeah, I think it's a good overall fit. I mean, some of the surrounding weapons, obviously with the quarterback, it all works out. I mean, he's somebody, I think, if he gets a pretty good quarterback throwing him the football, he hasn't had that throughout the course of his college career. If he ends up getting that in the NFL, I think it definitely changes his type of production. So, I mean, at 6'1", 192, I only got the 2 games on him, so I wasn't able to do a full evaluation, but I know he's a speedster. I mean, he ran a 4.33 at the combine, and he was a guy that in the 100-meter dash in high school, he ran it in 10.4 seconds, which was faster than Jalen Hyatt. So he's one of those guys that I think is a little bit raw, but I think you can kind of form him into the player that you want him to be, and maybe that's just a vertical threat receiver, but maybe that's good enough to catch you, 50 to 60 passes in a season. I think it's very possible. I mean, he's like a ball of clay, and you can kind of mold him into what you want him to be. So I think he's one of those types of players. I would be more than okay if a team took him in that 3rd, 4th round range, because I think if you start going down that board, you get some uncertainty with guys like Parker Washington out of Penn State, Keyshawn Boutte out of LSU, Marvin Mims out of Oklahoma. There's some uncertainty. Trey Palmer might be a little bit more of a sure thing for an organization. So I do like that fit. I think it's probably more so his landing spot and range as far as that 3rd to 4th round range.
Russell, what's the difference for you between, like, let's say, Paris Johnson, Skoronski, and now apparently Broderick Jones, and maybe Darnell Wright is right there, but it seems like Paris Johnson, for some, has skipped Skoronski or passed Skoronski, even though, in my opinion, Skoronski seems like the most sure thing. How are you separating those top 4 O-linemen?
It's very close. I mean, I have all 4 of those guys in the top 15 for me.
Yeah.
And Broderick Jones is my top guy. He's number 9th on my board. And I think he is somebody that, really stands out with his just length, his ability to move for his size at 6'5", 311. And I think as we talk about, kind of a guy that's a ball of clay, he's only got 19 starts in his career. He's got that length to consistently lock out defenders. He's got this ability. I think that you can mold him into a sure left tackle or even right tackle in the NFL. But Skoronski is a close second. He's 11th on the board, and he's one of those types of players that he's a true technician. The only thing that hurts him is potentially the arm length. He might not necessarily be a tackle in the NFL because a team will want to spend, a top 10 pick on him. I think somebody will. I think the Philadelphia Eagles make a lot of sense for him. But yeah, and then after that, Paris Johnson and Darnell Wright are kind of back to back there on the board. And it's simply because, Paris Johnson, the more you watch of him, the more you like with him. I mean, 36-inch arms is nothing to joke about. And he's a great athlete. And then Darnell Wright's just such a great finisher. So I think it makes tons of sense if all 4 of those guys end up going in the top 20.
We're speaking with Russell Brown, NFL Draft Analyst at Fantasy Pros, at Russ NFL Draft on Twitter. Russell, Jalen Carter was once the favorite non-quarterback to be first off the board, then fell off, now may be back at the top of the list. Is the juice worth the squeeze, say, for Arizona or Seattle to make that happen?
Yeah, I think so. I think Seattle makes a lot of sense, just simply because, they're kind of working in a window with Pete Carroll, and we don't know how long he's going to keep coaching. I mean, I think he's pretty close to 80 years old if he's not there already. So it's one of those things where, it's got to start slowing down for Pete, and he's got to consider retirement at some point. And, they might have a coach waiting in the wings that could very well be the next great coach of the NFL, but at the same time, I mean, they've got a window, and they were pushing in the playoffs last year. Didn't end up happening for them, obviously, but it's one of those things where I think if you look at this team, they can add talent defensively. And Jalen Carter, if he cleans up off the field stuff, he's got all pro potential, and he might be able to clean up some of that stuff, just getting away from Georgia, getting away from, his home of Florida, and kind of getting up into a place like Seattle. It might just be a great fit for him. So I think it's an ideal landing spot. As for Arizona, I don't know if he ends up going to a place like that at 3. I think if they're able to trade out somehow.
They're interesting.
Yeah, they are. And they can very well take them at 3. I mean, but maybe they could trade out and maybe they're able to get him because, teams like Seattle and Detroit pass on him. So I think Arizona's the interesting one. And I think they're kind of the wild card. I wouldn't be surprised if, next Thursday, the card turns in at 3 and it does say Jalen Carter. It wouldn't surprise me.
So, Russell, what's the difference for you? I'm a Steelers fan, and I'm thinking corner. I know they're thinking corner. I've seen Spoon live, obviously, covering the Big Ten. I've seen Porter Jr. live covering the Big Ten. It seems like they may be gone. I know Banks is right there. What's the difference between like Spoon, Porter Jr., and Banks?
Well, if I had my pick, I'd go Spoon, Banks, and Porter Jr. That's how it's ranked on my board. And I like all three. I think all three are worthy of that 17th spot. And, you can make the case with Joey Porter Jr. I mean, just the connection to his dad there on the defense. It's a feel-good story. It's a good overall fit. I think there's a lot of potential for him to grow under Mike Tomlin. So it would make a bunch of sense. But I think Deontay Banks would be kind of a home run at that spot. His physical press man ability is really
if they play it
special.
I'm with you, right? But that's not how the Steelers like to play. But I'm totally with you.
Yeah, no, and it's one of those, you're looking at a guy that's, he's a bully to the opposition, and I feel like he's one of those guys that you can play in different spots because of his athletic profile, and he's got that ability to come down and make a huge tackle. He's got some ball skills, but the production's somewhat limited. But I think he's one of those guys that you can really mold, and he can turn into something. And I think Pittsburgh would be a great landing spot. But I would be curious if they value one of these offensive tackles. If one of them fall, I would be curious if that changes their mind at all, if they wanted to go away from defense and focus on putting some pieces around Kenny Pickett.
I don't see how any of 4 of those tackles get past 15. I mean, I've looked at it every which way, but Sunday, and I was like, okay, maybe right, because I think he has the most question marks, but still, man, I mean,
I've seen people have him going to the Bears at 9.
I just, how is a tackle going to get to the Steelers?
Well, I mean, I think the only way is if there's, the running back with Bijan Robinson goes, if there's a run on, obviously, the quarterbacks, if there's a receiver that sneaks in there, and if some of these corners that we talked about, if they end up going before, I think the offensive tackle becomes a piece. So, and another wild card is Miles Murphy. A lot of mock drafts don't have him in the top 15. They have him falling to 19, 18, 20 in that range. He could very well be the pick at 15 to Green Bay, and that could open up the door for, something for Washington to go corner or whatever, and there could be an offensive tackle. It's possible. You never know.
So I'm a little biased. It's the former running back in me, former returner. I love to catch the ball. How is Bijan Robinson not like top 2, maybe 3 players in this draft overall?
That's a good question. I mean, he's second on my board.
Okay. So, because he's
getting slept on,
but he's a running back, so I get it. They have those weird rules, right? He's got, if you're going to take a running, he appears to be in the entire draft, if he stays healthy, the safest pick. That's what I think.
Yeah, I think you could make that case. I think Will Anderson is up there as well, but Bijan, if healthy, he can certainly be a guy that's going to get you 300 plus touches every single season. I think Atlanta makes a lot of sense at 8. I know a lot of people might say, hey, that's too rich, but I mean, we're talking about a player that's got elite change of direction ability. He's a great pass catcher. I think there's a lot to work with in that offense with Desmond Ridder. You got to build that thing around him. And I think with Arthur Smith, I just think it's a great fit. So, I think he's going to end up being a top 10 pick next week, and we'll kind of see where it lands. But I think between Atlanta and Philly, it's a home run if he goes to either team.
If Philly takes a running back, it may be over.
I kind of think the same thing, though, with things that I see about the Lions, Russ. And I know that you're a Lions guy, and I've seen Bijan to the Lions at even 18. And you guys have, Swift there still. Is Jamal still there? Are we still in on Jamal Williams?
Why wouldn't Detroit go get a D lineman?
I don't know.
Russell, what do you want to see Detroit do? Cansey, maybe?
Yeah, no, I'm in that rare camp where I personally don't care. Just don't take a receiver at 6, and I'm pretty happy. I mean, just going to be honest. It's a weird feeling because it's normally like, hey, we've got this glaring need, but we have needs. Obviously, we still need to, clean up the defense, but we don't have as big of a hole as we did going into this offseason. And I think ultimately at 6, it's going to be a corner. I think that's either going to be Christian Gonzalez or Devin Witherspoon. And if Bijan ended up falling a little bit down the board, I could see them making the move up to try to get him, just simply because of how they value the running back position. I mean, with Jamal Williams going to the Saints, and sure, they brought in David Montgomery, but DeAndre Swift has been often injured in his career during this tenure with Dan Campbell, and I think it's one of those. They shopped DJ Hawkinson last year. I think they're going to go ahead and do the same thing here with DeAndre Swift. So I think Bijan makes a lot of sense with how they're trying to build that offense.
Are you a believer in Christian Gonzalez?
Absolutely. I think he's one of the 10 best players in this draft. I think when you look at his fluidity, I think there's potential there for him to continue to get better. And he's only 20 years old. I mean, that's the key, is you're getting a 20-year-old prospect that is as fluid as him. He's aggressive at the catch point. He's got the ability to play through the hands of the receiver consistently. I think in man coverage and zone coverage, whether he's playing on the boundary or not, I mean, that was what he primarily did at Oregon. It's all good. I think he's a guy that can get better and better. He reminds me of Patrick Surtain II from a few years ago, and I think he's one of those guys that's kind of, I think, a safe pick, if I'm going to be honest. I think you take him, he's going to clean up the back end of your defense, and you're going to see him thrive for several years.
He's getting some Nnamdi Asomugha comps, and I think it kind of scares me just because my sister, she teaches out in that part of the country, so we followed him at college, and I never knew about his toughness, right? So I think I'm kind of shied away when I hear the comp, but I should probably think past that and looking at his skill set, even though that's the comp.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing is, a lot of people always put the toughness or lack of tackling on these corners. And I mean, look, that's fine, but we all know it's a passing lead. I need guys that can cover. I need guys that can run with receivers and break up passes and get the football back from me. I think he can do that. I mean, his PR in the 200-meter dash was 21.6 seconds. His sister Melissa and Samantha, they ran track and field at Texas and Miami. His sister Melissa is married to David Blau, so there's already an NFL connection there. So I think he's a guy that he can get progressively better, and the toughness and the tackling, that will all come with time. And I mean, when he's got no choice but to make that tackle on the perimeter, when his job is on the line for X $1 million, he'll make those tackles, I think.
Why such range on Nolan Smith? I've seen some high 20s. I've seen some middle teens. Why such a fluctuation for Nolan Smith?
I think it's one of those where he's coming off the torn pec, and he's a guy that I think needs to be a little bit more consistent and fluid with his hand movement. And when you look at a player that's kind of undersized, he's 6'2", 239. He's not that prototypical edge rusher. You've got Tyree Wilson, who's 6'5", 275. You got the same thing with Miles Murphy. You got these guys that have size, speed, and strength. And Nolan Smith, he plays vicious. He plays aggressive, but his style of play could, lead to further injuries because his body might not be able to withstand some of that contact. And it kind of happened this past year with the torn pec. So we'll see if it translates. I love the player. I love the heart and what I see. But I just don't know what he plays in the NFL because I don't think he's a prototypical edge rusher. He's probably more of that Will backer that kind of floats around a little bit because he can drop into coverage and do those types of things. But at the same time, it's very tough to determine where he's going to end up just simply because you just don't know where he's going to fit at the next level.
I don't know if you heard this, Russell, but yesterday Adam Schefter was on one of the big ESPN shows, and he was going back and forth with Orlovsky about the top 4 picks. And he said there won't be a quarterback taken after 1 before 4. So he left 2 and 3 and said there won't be one. And he was like willing to bet on that to be the case. Would you say that's knowledgeable or he's on drugs?
You don't want to accuse
I think it's knowledgeable. I mean, I do think Houston is really thinking about a defensive end there too.
Me too.
And we talked earlier about Arizona with potentially Jalen Carter. I mean, I could see it being Tyree Wilson or Will Anderson and then Jalen Carter, or even, you know, if Will Anderson ends up being there, and then, you know, obviously the quarterback at 4 and obviously whatever Seattle does. So I think it's possible. And I mean, traditionally, we don't see quarterback in the draft. I mean, we haven't seen 3 quarterbacks in the top 3 since, you know, back in the late 90s. And I don't know if we'll see that this year, to be completely honest. So it's hard to predict, and we can sit here and have fun predicting trades, but, you know, to make a trade happen on draft day, it's pretty tough to do. And for Arizona to take a jump from 3 to even 7 or even 11, as they're commonly mocked in those types of trades, it's not always reasonable and it's not realistic. So I think it's more of a fantasy than anything else.
A couple of guys that could slide to the back of the first round. Better steal for the pro career going forward, Maisie Smith or Brian Brisset?
I'm going to go Maisie Smith. I like Brian Brisset, the person. I do like the player, but he's never reached his full potential in college. I mean, his injury concerns are true. I mean, he's been only limited to 25 games in 3 seasons, just about 8 games a season. And his pass rush, I label it as very vanilla. He doesn't have a pass rush plan. He doesn't necessarily have the moves that other guys have. I mean, he can win with a push-pull and a swim move, but it needs to become more consistent. And I don't think it's as consistent as a Maisie Smith, just simply because I think Maisie Smith provides a lot more versatility, to be completely honest. He's shown that he can play as a 4-eye or a 5. He can play as a 2-eye. He can move around, and he's athletic, and his profile shows it. The biggest thing with him is, you know, can he stay clear off the field? I mean, he had a misdemeanor gun charge back in October, and I think he's one of those guys that's just got to get a little bit better in recognizing the blocks around him. And if he can do that, Maisie Smith can take a big step forward in the NFL.
What is for you? Do you have a first round grade on Will McDonald from Iowa State?
I do not.
Where do you see him kind of transitioning into the NFL?
I mean, I think he's a fun player, and I think he's one of those guys that wear way too many hats there at Iowa State. And I think if he can figure out just kind of a designated role, I think he can definitely become a better pro than he was a college player. I'm not saying he was a bad college player by any means. I mean, he's got over 850 pass rush snaps. I mean, there's a lot of experience there. But we're talking about a 6'4", 240-pound edge rusher that played as a 4-eye and is getting knocked off his path by guards and tackles because he's not playing in his true spot where he should be standing up off the edge as a 6 or a 7. So with that, I mean, I think there's a chance he could go in the first round because, I mean, we don't have 32 first-round grades. More often than not, you've got about 10 to 15, and that's what we ended up with this year. But when you look at him, I think he's a versatile guy, and I think his first step is really consistent and explosive. So I think a team like the Saints make a lot of sense for him.
Let me get you out of here on this real quick as we hear the music of the teams. And there's, I think, 5 without a first-round pick. But let me just give you the top 3. The Rams, the Dolphins, and the Broncos. Who has the biggest impact this season, even though they don't have a first-round pick? Rams, Dolphins, Broncos.
Man, I'm going to say the Dolphins just simply because I think the talent is a lot better on their roster than just about any of the other 2 teams. And even though they've got, 4 picks, I think that at 51 and 84, they can make something happen, add a little splash and sizzle to that team.
Russell Brown, we appreciate it, man. Thanks so much. Hopefully we can talk again soon.
Sounds good, fellas. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Russell.
More CNC next.
Rogers and Benning will be back in 5 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 4 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 3 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 2 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 1 minute. Rogers and Benning will be back in 30 seconds. Coffee and Cream with Rogers and Benning on Hail Varsity Radio.
Welcome back. Coffee and Cream in the morning on Hail Varsity Radio, powered by Currency. Damon Benning, Andrew Rogers, having some fun during the break. I'm tearing up. I'm laughing so hard.
Can't take you anywhere.
You should just see what pops up on my feed sometimes.
I've been wanting to ask Shane that for years.
Oh, about my feed or his feed?
Just that question.
Game over.
Oh
man.
We're feeling good on a.
That's a great question.
Yeah, it is a good question.
Chaos.
Yeah, thanks, Rob. That is exactly what's been taking place.
Total chaos.
Something I wanted to bring up today in regards
Husker?
to Nebraska football was, for one, Herbie Husker, which I think is the oddest infatuation that this fan base has with the mascot. I
just don't get it.
I'm not there.
I'm not either.
I don't want to sound like I'm like, if you're really passionate about the mascot, like don't take this as a hey.
Oh, they put at you. You
why,
can take it.
Why are you coming after like my cartoon? But this dude like changed his overalls.
Hey,
like,
listen.
He put his overalls on and maybe dyed his hair blonde.
The
like,
only thing that I cared about.
Go back to history, whatever. But don't make your mascot like the main story.
The only thing that I cared about was that video was pretty sweet.
Oh, Nebraska!
I don't know enough about the history, and I should, but the video
A+
was way good.
It
I don't care what they were talking about. It was just a cool video,
a movie trailer.
Yeah, it was just it was a well done video. Like I was like, dang. I don't know the difference between 2023 Herbie and
Herbie dropped the book,
91 Herbie, but
and the corn popped up.
Yeah, it was the video was cool.
I wonder if he cleaned up his mess.
So, do you think people are really serious about the mascot, or they're just playing the bit?
I would think that they're really serious because
about the mascot?
What I've been seeing. Yeah.
So you're like floored. You haven't been here long enough to be indoctrinated.
So confused. Like even you said yesterday, like, oh yeah, they're getting the new mascot today, and like you weren't like saying like, oh, I can't wait to see this video.
Yeah.
But you made a note of it because even you knew people were talking about it.
Yeah, I just couldn't believe. And maybe it's I don't know. It's not like I'm not saying I'm too cool. I just have never paid attention.
Ask me
even as a player.
Ask me if Fred Bird and Fred Bird, Cardinals mascot, changed. Like, would I really care that much?
See,
like,
I don't even know.
I think you would.
Me?
You think I'd care if Fred Bird changed?
I think you would.
I
mean, you say
what
now,
is changing about it? Like you're going back to something that once was.
Yeah, but you gotta have a mascot that looks good. You gotta have something that's sellable, something that you can put on a T-shirt. I mean, that's what it all comes down to.
So when you're sellable, Shane, that means you're doing something right. So the mascot stays the same over time, right? That's what you're saying.
I'm saying when it's sellable and it looks good and people want to wear it. I mean, that's what it comes down to.
I don't remember Fred Bird ever changing.
Well, that's what I'm saying. If it changed, you would have.
Why are you calling him by his first name? Why he just can't be the Cardinals mascot?
Its name's Fred Bird.
The Amazing Daniel says, I don't think most people who get worked up about it actually care as much as they pretend to. It feels more like, and I quote, we decided this is important, even though we know it isn't. Smart move by Trev to do something easy that gets people excited. But listen though. Along those lines, what hasn't Trev done that he said he was going to do since he's been here? Like so the whole rule thing got me going back. Of course, I go back and listen and I'm like, shoot, man, this guy, he hadn't told me a lie yet. Right. Like I know the critic, like if he had some critics, it was, hey, he's going to say all the right things. He's going to sell you a bill of goods, whatever. So far he's made good.
Mm-hmm.
So is Trev. He's diversified the department. He's streamlined the vision. He's kind of unified the vision. He's got folks in there that I think are reflective of what he wants in terms of work habits. Like, I think I don't know, man. They seem to be. I don't know. I gave most of the credit to Trev's wife when I at the Jet Awards. I'm like, I hear you're like the brains behind this deal. But
so Trev's the puppet.
No, she's great. Like, but if you're gonna be married to Trev, you have to be strong, right? Angela, she's amazing. But anyway, just doing like it's again simple versus easy. Just doing what you say you were gonna do. He's doing it, and I think. He kind of wanted to streamline this thing. It started subtly with like the font and the block in to use.
Yep.
And remember those days? Like he wanted it to be kind of very,
clean, crisp.
And the cool thing,
Acres Ale.
Listen, very good. He did it at Omaha too. Like their gear and branding. Omaha's team and calling him Omaha, like he did that at Omaha too, and they had
the O. He did the O.
Yeah, they have sweet gear. They went to Omaha under his direction. They stopped saying UNO, And like
the O,
and it was clean.
One
it
of
was
the best logos in all of collegiate sports.
Every time I see it, and I see it out on somebody, if they don't know my family's history, and I say, "Hey, man, love the logo, love that school." And I'm like, really? Like, I'm just being nice.
Mm-hmm.
No, I'm actually not. like that. Oh, like it's just clean.
I wear it all the time. I wore the hat yesterday to the golf course.
But the only thing that I really cared about with the mascot was the video. And I always like to try to stay motivated and be competitive. And I'm like, this is a nice little hype
Special
video.
effects, the hype. Yep.
But as far as the way
the shot selection was really good. I loved the page turning and then the cut back to the old footage.
They do work.
That was great.
They do work.
That was great. You know what? Maybe I'll get excited about that. That's cool. I'll get excited about that.
You know what I need? I just need I need some wins and some momentum. That's it.
Right there.
It's it. Wins and momentum.
All right, Daniel, I see you. I see
What do
you
you say?
on YouTube. He goes, I just wish we could get the fans to chant Omaha instead of UNO at the games. Well, because I get out on the ice right before the game and I chant UNO. So I get it. Subtle jab. Okay.
That's Daniel.
I see you.
I
picked right up on it.
Yeah, he's tough.
That was great. I might have to put that back up there.
Oh, thanks, Shane. You want to go change your mascot?
Hey, do you see how subtly he stirs the pot?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Appreciate you bring that to our attention.
No,
Raiders don't change their mascot. It's been the same. Same logo.
Oh, what is the Raiders mascot?
Pirate.
Is it?
Does he have a name?
Is that technically a if you're not in a costume, I don't think you're a mascot, are you?
They don't change their. I mean, they haven't
above
changed.
my pay.
Raider Rusher.
They haven't changed their logo since like 1960.
If you're not in a costume, are you really a mascot? That's the dude. He looks like Puck. Do you know who Puck is? He's a comic book character.
No.
Google Puck. I like comics, obviously. Yeah, he looks. They got that from Puck. I'm serious. No, you're not doing it right. Did you say comics in the search?
No.
Well, that's nobody wants to.
Oh yeah, sure.
Looks like Puck.
A little bit.
Put a little frosting on the cake.
A little bit, and it's the P.
Is it weird?
It's the big P.
Is it weird that I knew that?
Little
touchdown.
Yeah, a little bit too.
Yeah. So anyway, in this 8:30 segment, because we weren't going to talk mascots. What was it? It was you were going to say about Nebraska in the spring.
Yeah. I was going to talk about building confidence, and that is something that when I was sitting at home last night, I'm like, okay, week leading up to spring, there was no audio from practice. We'll get that today, but there was nothing new. I didn't feel like we needed to go back on anything that we had already visited on. But then I was thinking, man, it feels good to have an understanding of what to expect come Saturday, and even further on come the fall. And I think that was all started at the end of last fall when they took down Iowa, and the confidence that built off of that. So then I listened to
from last year.
Gotcha. Then I listened to the press conference, the introductory press conference of Matt Rule, and he was saying something similar to that. Like it takes a strong, confident group of men, whether they are still on the team or not, because this was back in November, to buy into me, but also feel like they can win games, essentially, after taking down Iowa. And I'm like, I've been saying that for a little while, that Iowa game started the train of success because it reminded you that you can win games. You can win games against good opponents.
We got to go to break, but I want to get into whether you think where Nebraska's head is going forward with all this situational stuff and that confidence.
Yeah. So we'll get into that next. Stick around. Coffee and Cream.
Rogers and Benning will be back in 4 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 3 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 2 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 1 minute. Rogers and Benning will be back in 30 seconds. Coffee and Cream with Rogers and Benning on Hail Varsity Radio.
So a lot of these guys, the key for how the season will go, because people always ask me how the season will go. And, you know, we have the coaches we have the players we have. A lot of it will come down to confidence, right? A lot will come down to, like, at what point do they believe they can really win? When I say believe, like, we all say we believe, but, like, when you're down 17-7 in the second quarter, you know, the great teams that played here probably laughed and then took it 170 yards, made it 17-14. The other team had a lot of pressure on them. You know, when we start playing with confidence, whether that's next week or in 2 years, we'll be a good team. So I say that about Bryce. I look at him. I see an NFL player. I see an all-conference caliber player. The question is, what does he see? And I say that for a lot of guys, not just him. Piper, Nori, all those guys, man. That offensive line is as talented as one as I've been around in college football in terms of as a head coach. Are they going to believe it, and are they going to put it together? So that's why we're trying to practice the way we're practicing right now.
Oh,
how can you not want to go to war with that guy?
No, it's not just that. It's not that. It's his willingness to say things out loud that no one in America believes. That it's not, oh man, that's a rallying cry, like great speech. It's he says things in such a way that it makes it believable because no one else is saying it. No one. I tell you.
Well, now people
and
are.
It's not.
But he was the first to say it.
Oh, let's go back to like the fourth presser. I don't. He is kind of condescending. I don't believe you're not going to be a good offensive line. You're going to be a great offensive line. I don't buy into that narrative. Everybody was like, wait, what?
Sure. Okay.
Right?
Yeah. Whatever you say, Matt.
So at some point, there's going to be this thing where you go from speaking it into existence and kind of that blind faith to actually seeing it come to fruition. If he's right, who is really ever going to doubt anything that he says from an evaluation level? Like, he's put it out there. He's left no real wiggle room. And context is important, right? He's not saying, oh man, he's going to the NFL. The caveat is, he says couch, I say caveat, because couch seems like you're trying to like back out of it. But the caveat is if they believe it, right? I was talking to one of our guys that was at practice on Saturday, and I'm just talking back and forth with him. I'm like, hey, what'd you think? And one of the first things that he was talking about was Bryce Benhart. Now, I did say, full disclosure, could you believe how thin he was, like fit he was? But then he went on to talk about what he was watching. And what Matt Rule doesn't care about, let alone know, is, do you know how many punchlines of jokes Bryce Benhart was a year ago? Not getting out of his stance, letting guys go by him. I mean, he was
too
memes.
big.
So, when he says those things, yeah, it's as much trying to inject some confidence, but he's also putting it. Listen, what do I always say? Would you rather be right or well liked? I'll take being right. So even if he wants to be well liked, he's putting that out there for everybody to gauge and judge.
And you'll know your people based on if they like you, based on how you approach.
They have to respect you first. Like,
Right.
I can't listen, Andrew. I'm just telling you, man. You're gonna be 6'3" and running your own company one day. I can say that till I'm blue in the face. Now, you may get one of those things, right? But you're never going to be 6'3".
How do you know?
You know what I mean? It's like,
I could put heels on.
I want to play your own video. Not going to do it because I enjoy my job.
Yes.
Well, you teed that one up,
Hey,
didn't you? Our listeners are probably like, what are they laughing at?
I have zero fear of failing here, DB. Zero fear. It's like the confidence Matt Rule instills in me.
Do you know what I'm saying, though? It's like, who's saying that? No one. He's the only guy saying that. But I am glad he picked Piper because, and it's just funny, right? 2 years ago, I remember almost 3 when Piper first started playing, I kept telling everybody what a good athlete he was. I'm like, man, this guy can dunk. He can do backflips, because they did him in his state finals. I'm like, man, I'm Team Piper. And I had a couple of my buddies look at me after he started playing, I question your credibility. It's not good. Doesn't come off the ball. Doesn't have a ton of snap. Getting stoned as a puller. Like, I heard it all, right? And so even I kind of started to doubt. But then I remembered something. And this is through last year. I remembered what it's like to play when you feel good about yourself. When you actually are confident in what you're doing. Because when you start to feel good, I got a player right now, highly touted, Christian Jones.
Well, very highly touted.
You watch the first half of his season versus the second half of his season. First half, I get the criticisms. I do. Even I told him about some of those criticisms, right? But he was unsure. He was still kind of feeling his way along. I'm asking him to do a lot of things that he wasn't accustomed to doing. But when he started to get it and play with confidence, it's like, I watched him at the Under Armour deal, Kansas City. Now he's seen some better players than he was going against, even though there were some good guys. Aeneas Williams and some of these backs were pretty good, right? But he's used to seeing with what we do with him against who he sees, he has to do some tougher things in man coverage. So I'm talking to his dad, and I said, man, I can tell by his body language, he's laughing in his sleep right now. These are drills that we work repetitively. And his dad goes, yeah, his dad's a big guy. He's sure a heck of a lot better at this than he was a year ago at these camps. And in my head, I said, he feels better about what he's doing.
Mm-hmm. And you have to admit failure, in order to grow.
And so confidence can be a scary thing. It's like getting out of bed when you're fit versus when you're not fit. I've used this analogy. When you don't feel good about yourself, you don't hold yourself very accountable. It's like, whatever. When you do feel good about yourself, it's like, hey, man, I'm going to do some things.
Right.
So I never want to discount when the most confident player that actually three, but I'll just use the two defensive guys because T. Fraze and Zach Wiegert were two of the more confident offensive guys I've ever been around, right? Like ever. But defensively, one wasn't as gifted physically, but he was supremely confident, and that was Mike Brown. The other was Mike Menner, two safeties, and supreme confidence. Now, they both go on to have long NFL careers. One was more physically gifted than the other, but Mike Brown's confidence in terms of knowing his craft and knowing where to be was unbelievable. Baron Miles, just confident. And it's like when you believe, it can do crazy things. So I'm curious, man. I want to see Nori. I know Ethan. I don't worry about Piper,
right?
Because I think he's got it in him. Ben Hart, like if that is true, like if that comes to fruition, imagine what a travesty a couple of these early years have been. But he can't afford to be stuck in the, looking in the rearview mirror.
Don't live in the past. Yeah, I'd rather take 2 good years out of you.
Listen,
rather than no
Coach Rule, he's calling his shot,
and that's why I think this all dates back to the Iowa game because they built their own confidence by winning that game. They reminded themselves they could win, but then when you bring in Coach Rule, sometimes you need that constant reminder of that self-worth that you were talking about.
I get it. I totally get it.
You're a good player. Like remember that. Remember you can compete with the best of the best. So a quote I heard yesterday, I'm going to tell you this because you're going to like this. It was 20 years from now, you'd give anything to be this exact age, the health that you're in, and back in this exact moment. And just enjoy it. Enjoy it now while you can. Now, you would never put yourself back in your football playing days because you've now like taken that next step in your life to where you have kids and you're coaching kids and you have a family, but you wouldn't want to miss out on this moment. Just like how I wouldn't want to miss out on the moments that I'm starting
legit.
now.
That's
that's
legit.
what I think Coach Rule's also getting across with these guys.
That's legit.
Just, take advantage of what you have. What was it in The Blind Side when like the quote in that essay was like, something like you should hope for courage and try for honor. It's like one of those type of deals too. As leaders, like you're trying to develop leadership skills, right? If you stay confident, you'll be a leader. Whether you're quiet or loud, you'll be a leader. Coach Rule likes leaders. In that opening press conference, he said leadership isn't just a position, it's a way of life.
Mm-hmm.
And by staying as a leader, now your game is not only confident, but the team's game is confident. If you live confidence, you'll breathe it too.
Yeah, and that's probably so. There's a couple characteristics that he has that I hope truly become modeled behavior. Number one is his ability to care about other people, right? That's one. Like I think he genuinely cares about people other than himself. But the other one is he believes no matter what, he'll figure it out. I'll figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not gonna stop competing. I'll figure it out. That's the part. That's the other part that I think he hopes that team gets in. And he's got the stones enough to put it on the line because I think he truly believes it. It isn't because he wants people to like him. I think he wants to be right.
No, and he's done it before too.
Yeah.
So he knows he can be right.
Yeah.
We'll talk to Joel Lorenzi next.
We'll be back in 4 minutes. Rogers and Benning. We'll be back in 3 minutes. Rogers and Benning. We'll be back in 2 minutes. Rogers and Benning. We'll be back in 1 minute. Rogers and Benning. We'll be back in 30 seconds. Coffee and Cream on Hail Varsity Radio with Andrew Rogers and Damon Benning.
Brooklyn ball, beating Curry. Curry driving on a beat, in the lane, beats Johnson. Johnson blocked by a beat. Swatted like a volleyball. Here comes Maxey right at Dinwiddie. Layup up, and that's rejected. But goaltended by O'Neal. Literally end-to-end action. Oh, man. The NBA playoff is fantastic.
Fox with a rebound. Gives it up to Malik Monk with 2:25 to go. Long lead past Harrison Barnes. Shoulders into the lane. Dumps to the corner. Davion has it. He drives. He kicks. Fox will step into a straightaway three. He's got the triple. Sacramento leads by 6 at 107-101.
Hey, welcome back. Coffee and Cream in the morning on Hail Varsity Radio, powered by Currency. Damon Benning, Andrew Rogers. Happy to have you back with us, and happy to get to talk to Joel Lorenzi, who I think we luck out on every single week right now because something
always just comes up.
happens. Baylor Shireman stays, and then a week later, hey, they get another guy out of the portal in Stephen Ashworth. And so it's great to be able to get to talk to him about that, but also to get his insight on the NBA playoffs. Let's welcome him in now. Joel, good morning.
Good morning, guys. What's going on?
Just trying to make it. Old Drew down over here is on the struggle bus because he's not used to watching NBA playoff games late, man. He's part of that media mob that is mad about starting times. I told him they got to go to bed at like 2 a.m. like you do, man.
It's
no
not
big
NBA,
deal.
it's NHL. Because when you get into overtime in the NHL, it's 20 minutes. It was golden goal.
The Kings-Warriors games was almost as long.
I'm good with that, though. Like, I'm chilling on the couch.
Have you ever seen Stomp the Yard?
In regards to Draymond?
No, the movie.
No.
Joel is
No.
He said, oh, Joel, you make me laugh. Hey, so doing too much, or were you buying what happened with Sabonis?
For sure, probably something a little bit, but I mean, damn, like Draymond really put his whole foot in bro's chest. Like, I mean, I probably would maybe not did all the theatrics, but I mean, I would have acted similarly. I mean, I gotta imagine something that was like, bro, 6'7" dude just put his whole foot in my chest.
Who did more acting, Draymond or Sabonis?
Sabonis.
I don't think there was a ton of acting involved for Draymond.
So, well, I mean, if somebody grabbed your leg, wouldn't you react similar? Like, I've seen NBA players come to Draymond's defense, and I'm kind of with it. Like, it was egregious, but why are you grabbing his leg?
Yeah, he shouldn't have grabbed his leg. But I don't know if I'm putting my whole foot through bro's chest. That's kind of wild. I don't know.
No, I don't know, man. See, I like Draymond in the media. I don't like Draymond like as the player. So I'm torn because I know why he did it. I just don't know. Like, should I be comfortable enough to say, well, in that position, I would have, and then fill in the blank? Like, that's what I don't feel good about saying because I don't really know.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't even want to be in that position where I'm getting my leg yanked or whatever. It was just all around bad vibes. Like, I mean, I've seen people say, "Oh, I got ejected." I thought the calls were handled the way they should have been. I thought Sabonis grabbing his leg, while it could have been dangerous, in reality, I don't think it was worth ejection. And then Draymond, obviously putting his foot through bro's chest, like that's probably that's enough excessive force to where I could see a flagrant two, and which obviously results in the ejection. So I wasn't mad at the way it was called. I wish it didn't happen because you lose Draymond for those final 7 minutes, which ended up still being good basketball, but probably could have been better with him. So,
should he be suspended?
I know that's probably what the NBA wants to do, but I don't think he should. For the sake of good basketball, and maybe they want to make an example out of him. I don't know. I mean, he's been doing stuff like this so long. I just don't know how much more you could do. I'd lean no, just for the sake of playoff basketball, because I mean that would alter the series, and this series would have an asterisk. Oh my gosh, you'll never hear the end of it from Warriors fans, but I can see the NBA doing it just based on who they are under Adam Silver.
Who needs their guy more, the Bucks or the Grizz?
Damn, don't ask me that. Probably the Bucks, man.
Yeah, because the Grizz have won a lot without Ja for whatever the reason, but they're also down a few guys.
Yeah, I mean, matchup-wise, I think they could really use Ja against the Lakers, but man, I look at this Bucks team, dog. I mean, Giannis is the best player in the world. You look at the drop-off when he's not on the floor, and it's like, Good grief, man. Like, I mean, Chris Middleton clearly isn't 100%. He's not the Chris Middleton at the moment. And they're feisty, man. I mean, obviously they're super inconsistent, and their floor is like pretty bad this year. But their ceiling is pretty good this year. Like when they're on, and they bought it to the Bucks in Milwaukee, and I thought as soon as Giannis went out that game, like it was over with.
And it's weird though because the Heat were doing work early, and I know Hero broke his hand, and I mean on most teams that guy's coming off the bench. He's not a starter. You know, Bam Adebayo is probably a third option, not a second. And somehow the Heat were still doing the darn thing to start the game. Man, did they have one more piece of magic in them?
I mean, I don't want to find out. My agenda is to extend Giannis's legacy. I want to get the top 10 player by the end of the summer, so I hope not. But that's just for agenda purposes, of course. But you're right. No, Bam is probably on a championship team. He's probably a third option, which is why this Heat team has probably struggled with his ceiling, and especially because like Jimmy Butler, as much as he gets to it in the playoffs, like he got to it the other day, just the rim pressure and everything, like. He's still a struggling shooter for the most part, which is weird for a guy that has so much usage and carries such a large load for them. So you would think like they shouldn't be able to pick up wins like that, and their window should be closed with how little they've kind of really built upon these teams, like the team that made the finals. I mean, obviously you had like Gabe Vincent and Max Strus since then, but like this isn't a completely different team that you would think like, okay, their championship window is there, especially when teams like the Bucks and Celtics are lying around. So I don't know if they have a ton of magic left, but I know the Bucks are going to need Giannis to close the thing out quick.
Joel, what do you think about the 76ers response at a halftime yesterday when you come out, the play's drawn up, and then that's not what we were supposed to run. Spam, timeout call. Doc drills it into his guys, starts cursing, and James Harden said that was kind of motivation for us to really, light the fire under our bums. Like, what do you think of how they've been kind of responding all year to Doc and criticism and being a team that is uber competitive right now in the playoffs?
Yeah, I only caught glimpses yesterday's game. I like their team, man. I mean, it shouldn't be. I don't want to just, crap on the Nets, but it shouldn't be hard to,
Yeah, they got no business being there. It's okay.
Yeah, there's a bunch of 3-and-D guys. It's really hard to envision them winning the series. Now, don't get me wrong, Mikal, if he's not already a star, he's on his way.
Mm-hmm.
But other than them, like I look at the two teams, I really like the way they've responded to the Nets coverage of Embiid and everything. Like at a certain point, like Embiid, just the passing out the doubles is like absolutely killing the Nets. Now, don't get me wrong, like the Nets kept it within arm's reach for a while after the Sixers took that lead in the second half. But I think, man, like you can only rotate so much and be everywhere at once, especially when you double a guy like that who's been getting doubles all year, probably as many doubles as anybody. I mean, he was fantastic yesterday. That's my MVP right there at this point. So,
all right. So let me jump over locally. You were the kind of the first guy to bring him up when you capped the potentials that may land out of the portal. They get Ashworth. You're getting 44%. 43 if you round down. You're getting 16 and some change. You're getting almost 5 assists tonight, and you're getting a guy that appears to love basketball, and maybe more than that, understands systems and culture. What do you think they're getting with Ashworth?
Yeah, I mean, you said a lot of it. This is a dude that I'd say 95% of the program, probably more. You could plug this dude in anywhere just off his traits and his best assets in terms of how well he shoots, not just on the ball. But you know, the way he moves off the ball, we saw this dude. I mean, his range is crazy. He can, you know, trail for threes, you know, 5 feet behind the line. You put him on the ball and pick and roll, and he makes good reads. Probably, I don't know, man. Like, no, I don't think he makes better reads than R2, but I mean, he's not far off, man. Like, this dude. And the pick and roll, like, people are going to be happy with him. Him and Carl Brennan running the pick and roll, like, the playmaking chops are there. Like, it's just, this is dude, like, for point guards, like, I know people should miss Nembhard. I know the way the whole thing went down, people hate Nembhard right now. They should miss him, but I don't think they'll miss him a ton now that they got Ashworth.
Hey, you know, a guy that prides himself on defense, as DB just said, and you, a guy that can absolutely splash it as well. How big of a need was finding a player of his skill sets to replace Nembhard, like you were talking about? And how do you think you would grade this commitment?
It was their top task of the summer, and not just because obviously you lose one of your starters, rah, but I thought, even though Trey Alexander was one of their top 2 players down the stretch, and is probably one of their top 2 players still now, I thought Nembhard, based on the circumstances, was one of their top 2 most important players the whole season because of the minutes played, how indisposable he was, based on, you know, the point guard depth. Like, you could never take him out the game. And few guards, I think, across the country offered what he did at his age. And so, like, you could never take him off the floor because like, kind of like we said with Carl Brenner and King throughout the year, like, it's just a big drop off, and that's probably granted because Carl Brenner is one of the best big men in the country. It was the same thing with Nembhard. Like, there was a big drop off from Nembhard to Sharif. They didn't have anybody remotely close to Nembhard in terms of somebody who could control the pace and you know, make the game his based on, you know, when the ball is in his hands. And I mean, I guess Trey. Like, they trusted Trey as a ball handler in certain lineups, but it just wasn't the same. And so, I mean, Nembhard played. He averaged the most minutes on the team. So I thought replacing him was probably, regardless of what happened this summer, was probably going to be their top task, all things considered. Even though I didn't know he would leave.
So when you're talking about the elevation of the profile of the Big East, even after the run they made last year in the tournament too, with 3 of the teams in the, you know, the top in the Sweet 16, is the profile even more elevated this year? I know Cooley just changed schools; he's still in the conference. You get Pitino; it's becoming an attractive destination. Is the profile enhanced in 2023-24?
I think it has the potential to be. Obviously, I'm not a geezer, so I wasn't there when, you know, Boeheim was in the league and on the sidelines and, hey man, let me rock. But I'm not you know, I wasn't around when John Thompson was on the sidelines and whatnot. But I've seen Requiem for the Big East, and I kind of got a feel for, you know, how much the league meant way back when, and how many personalities the league had. And I feel like the league this upcoming year has the potential to be very close to that. You know, I look at you mentioned that Eric Cooley is, you know, a revered guy in the league, and he's taken over something that was an absolute dumpster fire, and it looks like it could turn around in year one.
And he's going to be in the hunt to get some guys out of the portal too. It's going to change for him in a hurry.
Yeah, and I mean, assuming he lands Hunter Dickinson, like, we're looking at a completely different program potentially in year one. I look at, you know, Pitino, even though they still got things to figure out because he basically gave the boot to all of Mike Anderson's team. I would hate to bet against Pitino, and that's a guy. I mean, it's a legend. And then I look at Providence, and I see Kim English. It's a guy that I thought was always a great candidate for the job. I think he's ready. He's charismatic. He's young. And I mean, you see it, like, he's doing the live fun one-on-ones with his players to get them to stay. Like, this this is one of those dudes I think the league needed, man. I'm excited for the direction of the league and just the personalities and the faces that are around.
Joel, I heard the plan was to mirror as much as Nembhard did for Ashworth. And, when I heard him say that with the conversations that McDermott had with him, I was like, can you really, truly mirror what one guy did over the other? Because it seems like they're two different beasts. But then watching some of Ashworth's highlights, it's like, okay, he can really do some really good work, off-ball shooting, off-ball screens, transition shots, good with the dribble handoff. He's a pretty good spot-up shooter too. But I never really saw him get to the rack like Nembhard did. So in a way, yes, they're similar, but do you see Ashworth's role being more of a dribble pull-up versus a, hey, get to the rack, or a dribble pass?
Well, for starters, I think there are a few guards in the country with the same burst as Nembhard. Yeah. So the rim pressure isn't going to be the same, but I'm not sure it has to be. Like, maybe you'll miss it in some scenarios when, like, you're like, why aren't guys getting to the rim? I mean, I don't know, who they'll have at the 4. Assuming Kaluma leaves, I don't know who will be at the 4 and who. Maybe it'll be somebody who puts pressure on the rim. Maybe they'll have a guy in certain lineups that puts a ton of pressure on the rim, besides Kalkbrenner in the pick and roll, obviously. So I don't know. Maybe you'll miss that in some areas, but I'm sure they're banking on, his gravity as a shooter being enough to bring the defense high and, kind of work from there. Because, I mean, this is a dude that is shooting from feet behind the line. This is a dude potentially got kind of the same green light as Shireman did last year in terms of where he can catch it and shoot it from. And then in terms of, off the dribble, similar range again. I was super impressed with the tape as a shooter. And that's where he's pretty comfortably some ways ahead of Nembhard, which I think they're going to try to bank on, while he misses maybe some of the athleticism that Nembhard had. Because Nembhard was a sneaky athlete, and obviously the burst. He's one of the fastest guards in the country. So
we hadn't heard much from Coach Mack. What'd you think?
When what?
Just what the postseason, the acquisition. What do you think about what his thoughts will be on the direction going forward?
I think he's excited. I think if he could have built a player in the lab, Stephen Ashworth would have came out like Captain America, man. Like this is
Stephen Ashworth right Rogers. Boy, you were something else, boy. I tell you.
No, really, I think he's living the dream right now. Obviously, they still got some things to figure out. Probably if Kaluma leaves, they got to figure out their 4th spot. Otherwise, I mean, regardless, they gotta probably get another guard on the bench, maybe another wing. Like they're still looking for guys, at least 2 guys, as far as I know. So they still have some stuff to figure out, but they landed the big fish already. I'm not sure if Kaluma leaves. I talked about this. I'm not sure that they could get a great replacement for him. It's just not a good pool of 4 men in the portal as we speak, outside of Blow from Tennessee. So, but I think they're probably at ease with that now. They're probably comfortable with that. I mean, this is Kaluma leaves, so I think they got a contingency plan in place. I think they're worried about the bench, the depth and whatnot, because that's kind of something they whiffed on last summer.
Now their defense could take a hit, obviously, without some perimeter defenders, especially off the dribble. But some of Coach Mack's best offenses, this was pre-UJL, but was when his 4 could shoot it and they could really get back to space and pace. If you insert a 4 that could shoot it, like a guy like Mason Miller, that offense may be more dynamic than it has been the last year and a half, but they probably would give up a little bit, obviously, on the defensive end. That's one of the things that I'm interested in, because when his 4 can stretch you, his offenses have been unbelievable.
Yeah, I think that's why they're probably okay with, whatever happens if they don't get a 4-man in the portal. Like, I think they're okay with the guys that are at that position now. You mentioned Mason. That's a guy that I kind of talked up his ceiling last year because, the tools are there with, his vertical and his jump shot. And then Isaac Trout is a guy, obviously, a highly talented commit coming out of high school. People are eager to see what he looks like. The only reason I'm probably less comfortable than them right now is because, for this team to be where people have them, I think Haslam Metrics or one of those nerdy sites had Creighton number 1. I think that's assuming the Columbus stays, but I gotta imagine, most people have Creighton top 10, whatever. And I'm just not sure. Like, I think Mason would have to have a crazy summer for a lineup with him to be top 10, or they need crazy depth or whatever. I don't know. I think that's the question mark for me going forward. And then Trout, obviously Trout, really talented player in high school. We just haven't seen him on a college basketball court, man. I think people are really kind of jumping in some conclusions here. I'd have to see him play first before
Same with Jason Green.
I started hoisting him up. Yeah, even though I think Jason Green will have a good summer. I think that's a dude that could get some minutes next year. I don't know. It depends on how the staff feels about him. But his body's ready, man.
I agree.
Hey, Joel, last thing here. Sharif to Ohio. Didn't really touch on that too much, but how happy are you to see him now able to go off and play the role that he's been wanting to play?
Yeah, good for him, man. I thought his final list was a good one. It was all schools. I thought that he had a chance to do a lot more than he did at Creighton. And I think that was just the direction. With the direction Creighton's headed, it was just kind of tough for him to break through. I think the Creighton that he succeeded for was, even though it wasn't even super long ago, it was just a completely different landscape. Creighton was still kind of riding on that underdog thing. But now, people see Creighton coming, man. They're in these way too early top 5s and whatnot. The program's direction and, its complexion has kind of changed pretty quickly. And I think that started with, the R2, Columbus, and Trey. I was in the class. And so we're here now. And I thought, Sharif was probably, and they probably told Sharif the same thing. He's going to have a tough time breaking through. So to go anywhere, I thought at any major he could have carved a role. So I think he'll be fine. I think he'll do just all right.
Yeah, good. Appreciate you, Joel.
Yeah, Joel, we appreciate your time, man. Thanks so much. We will talk again next week.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
Thanks, champ.
That is Joel Lorenzi at JX Lorenzi on Twitter. Before we go to break, I want to take a moment and tell you about Alumni Hall. We'll change schools here and talk to Husker fans. If you want to be game ready, Alumni Hall is your ultimate Husker shopping experience. Best and largest selection of apparel for the whole family. Adidas, Champion, Columbia. Gifts, accessories, they've got your tailgating needs. 10% off in-store if you're a student, faculty, or military member. They have 2 locations in Lincoln, East Street downtown, or in the South Point Pavilions. Anytime you want to just check out their store, alumnihall.com works too, where Husker fans shop. When we come back, I want to ask DB about a parenting moment. That's next.
Rogers and Benning will be back in 5 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 4 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 3 minutes.
Your new pitcher. Your new pitcher is ex-Astro Anthony Bass on to try and clean it up. Your new pitcher is Your new pitcher is Your new pitcher.
Coffee and Cream with Rogers and Benning on Hail Varsity Radio.
Hey, welcome back. Coffee and Cream in the morning on Hail Varsity Radio, powered by Currency. Damon Benning.
What up?
Andrew Rogers. DB, I got a question for you.
What's going on?
So, and he corrected me during the break of the actual time of this incident because I set the stage for him so he could think about it a little bit. So you saw on Twitter Sunday, Anthony Bass tweet at United, like directly to them, complaining that they made his wife
5 months pregnant.
5 months pregnant, pick up popcorn that was kind of spilt next to the seat of his 2-year-old, I'm going to guess.
Because I think he has a 5 and a 2-year-old.
A 5 and a 2-year-old. They're both playing on their little leaf pads, iPads, whatever it is.
Yeah.
But I wanted to kind of gauge if you were a parent in that moment. First off, I don't think you would have ever tweeted at the airline.
I would not.
But if you were a parent in that moment, what would you do? Would you say, like Anthony Bass said, hey, you guys clean in between flights. Like there's a crew that comes in, they can pick this stuff up. I know that's the message that he was going for. It didn't come across that way on Twitter because he said you have a cleaning crew for that, which sounded arrogant.
Yeah.
Maybe a little millionaire-esque, as some people like to say. Or would you be the one that picked it up yourself? Or would you say, hey, Zoe, got to clean up your mess. Like, we can't just leave this here.
Yeah, that's me. I'm the latter.
I would be the latter too.
There's zero question. She's just in the truck the other day or whatever it is I drive. And Micah had popcorn. And, she wanted some. And, I just don't. I'm like, okay. And I specifically said, if you eat this, clean it up. Right? Because I didn't want to be that guy. I'm sure she was hungry, and I didn't want to say don't eat. But like she knows, and it's ingrained. I'm even like that at basketball and football games. Now, this poor girl, I try to cut her some slack because she's lived 3/4 of her life in a gym or a football field. I mean, she's like the ultimate. Wherever everybody else is going, that's where I'm at, right? But she does know, like, if you eat, pick up. And it's her responsibility. She finishes a glass at home, she's putting it in the dishwasher or in the fridge. I think
that's good parenting.
So
so that's what I would have said, hey, whoever my wife is.
And you can ask, like, she'll tell you.
Right.
Like, you know, she has this thing now where she likes to eat, because we haven't eaten at the dinner table for a couple of days, but she has this thing where she likes to eat at the bar top, but the stool doesn't allow her to get super close. So there's probably 1.5 feet. It's so ingrained. Yeah, you know the feeling, don't you, Shane? Little guy trying to look over the deal.
Yeah.
She'll look down.
Sorry for her.
She'll look down and see, like, what's on the floor, like if the dogs don't get it first, because she knows, like,
that's my job.
I told her one of the last basketball games at Westside. I said, hey, you can have popcorn, don't spill it. Like, I know people have a job to do, but don't make it any more difficult than it has to be. Like, that's just kind of where I'm at with it. And I certainly wouldn't, like, you're in the wrong, like, you know, you got to teach a little bit better, right? Just because you can doesn't mean you should.
Right. You teach your kids.
Yeah, I wasn't cool with the two. I didn't think it was going to land well.
Now
I couldn't believe he did it.
A nice pun with the plane. I don't know. We weren't on the flight, obviously, so maybe the flight attendants weren't very nice about it, and so that could have sparked, or
maybe your kid, maybe they were acting up a little.
And that could be too. Like, who knows really what it was? But here's where I come to Bass's defense. And a lot of people are, yes, you side with the fact that, hey, it's your responsibility to, you know, clean up your mess or look after your kids. But here's where I come to Bass's defense. At a baseball game, you buy a beer. Are you throwing away your cup? Are you throwing away your bottle, or are you setting that under the seat? So don't tell me that you've never not picked up for yourself, because I know for a fact I've done it. And I'll admit to this, that if I ordered 3 cups of beer and I'm done with that cup and I get a new one, I set it below my seat. Well, now I'm a little inebriated. I'm not thinking to throw away I'm not taking my cups to the concourse trash can. And maybe it's a standard that was just set because everybody does it. But that's kind of like the same situation, just in different form. Still, a cleaning crew comes through and picks all of that stuff up. They still have to make it look nice. So I hated the fact that everybody just went into attack mode and you react how you want to react.
It was his delivery,
right?
Though.
And that's why.
I mean, he got the energy he put off.
But remember yourself in the moment too.
No, I feel you, but
you've done it before.
Yeah, I mean, sure, but I don't know. Like, don't you throw away your stuff at the movie theater?
Yeah, every now and then. I would say there have been probably a time that I've left the popcorn bucket below my seat.
I'm just talking about best practices. Everybody has some margin for error. I'm just talking about best practices.
I would say on my way out, because conveniently,
I try to always do
trash
that.
cans right
Hey,
there.
pick up what you drop, right? Because I understand, like, you know, there's excess and stuff like that, but
right. You have a hot dog, right? You wrap it up, you kind of tuck it under the seat. You're not picking that up at the end of the game.
Yeah, but that's so. I don't know though. Like,
you do it all the time, Damon.
I know.
I mean, I go into the restroom and then I'm coming out, and you're going in there like, what is that paper towel doing on the ground there? And I'm like, I don't know. I wasn't me.
Yeah.
And you pick it up.
Yeah. So
that's just in your nature.
So some of that. So you're probably. And that's true, right? Because it used to drive me crazy.
It drives you bananas.
Because, you know, you use 2 hands and you pull the paper towel out, and inevitably a couple of pieces, the corners tear off, and they're always on the floor. And after like 8 or 9 trips, there's like a collection of torn pieces of paper in the bathroom, and I'm like, just be better. Like like maybe I'm OCD, but I know my mom. Listen, this was not a good. Whatever, in the Benning household. over the last whatever. And part of it is there's probably times where I come across as OCD, right? But I've been trained. It's all I really know. It's like if you walk into a room, leave it like you found it. So that's just what I do, right? Like it's
part of taking care of yourself,
right?
That's what you got to do. My mom
always
said,
I shower at my mom's or whatever, and I'm like, she knows when she goes in that bathroom, it's going to look exactly like when I first got into it, because that's just, and I'm not going to be reckless with like popcorn or chips just because somebody else is going to clean it up. I mean, if that's just not what I believe. That's just not, because I know what my job is sometimes. For me, that's the equivalent to, I know I'm a coach, right? So I have to coach all kids. I got to coach who comes to me. But don't make it any harder on me than it has to be. I know what my job is. Still hold up your end of it though. That's how I would be with a cleaning crew, right? Some things is just border on disrespectful because you don't have any self-worth, right? Like you don't have to eat like a heathen just because you can. But that's just me, right? And I don't know if I would cast judgment on that, the same as I wouldn't try to get at an
airline.
Yeah. So I would just keep it pushing. I would control me. I wouldn't hammer one way versus I wouldn't do it the other.
Look, at the end of the day, when I have kids, I'm telling my kids to pick up the mess because it's a learning lesson for them. They can't just throw anything and everything on the ground, because when you do allow that behavior, now you're allowing that everywhere they go, at school, at a friend's house, wherever they're at, you're allowing that. Yes, it's a teaching lesson. That's how you handle the situation. That's where we rest. But I want people just to remember you've done it before.
Yeah, I get it, right? But that doesn't make it okay.
And I'm not saying it makes it okay.
Probably in the wrong too.
The okay is teaching your kids. That's the moral of this whole thing.
Right. So at worst, because we don't know what he said to his kids.
Right.
When they look at that tweet in 10 years, right, because they'll be 15 and 12 respectively, will he have gone back and said, hey, listen, now I know what I said publicly, but remember what I said in the moment, try to clean up after yourself. Do you really think that's what happened?
I don't know. I wasn't there.
I'm going to go ahead and doubt it because of how he sent the tweet. So the mixed messages, I'm not vibing with. Yeah. I'm not riding with.
And that's fine.
You
don't have to. I'm not saying you have to pick a side here.
I'm not riding.
All I asked was how you would pair.
Is it okay that I have an opinion?
And then
then I don't have to rationalize it. I'm cool, and you don't have to let me know that it's okay either.
We'll do the Sports Six Pack next.
Rogers and Benning will be back in 4 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 3 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 2 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 1 minute. Rogers and Benning will be back in 30 seconds. Coffee and Cream with Rogers and Benning on Hail Varsity Radio. Time now for the Sports Six-Pack on Coffee and Cream with Andrew Rogers and Damon Benning. Presented by Zipline Brewing Company, makers of Dear Old Nebraska Brew, the official beer of Nebraska alumni.
Hey, welcome back. Sports Six-Pack time to close out the show. You heard it's presented by Zipline. That's our guy Cam doing the read, and I'll tell you a little bit about Zipline. Downtowns. Let's do the downtown. No, we did the Omaha Tap Room earlier. Let's do the beer lounge. The Zipline Beer Lounge boasts oversized lounge chairs, couches, a fireplace, shuffleboard. They have that lending library. And you know what? You get the seasonal beers, the freshest year-round small batch beer Zipline has to offer. Inside the soft interiors or out on the patio, Beer Lounge is a great environment for a beer, a game, a read, or a chat. Check out the Zipline Brewing Lounge. Shane, you have the questions. Let's get to them.
Question number 1.
At what point this year will Nebraska start feeling good in its own skin again?
So like a legitimate moment?
Yeah, what do you think? What do you think the feel-good moment will be?
I don't know, win a close game at Minnesota.
Oh, that's a good call.
Because I think it'll be a close game. Win it.
Good. It would have to be something in season that would make you feel good. First game of the year isn't a bad call. And they have a horrible record against Minnesota. So
3-7. 3-7 for those of you playing at home.
You're kind of talking me into Minnesota. I will say when they have a winning record, but a record that is more than 2 wins. I would say if they had 3 wins to 1 loss 4 games in, I think they would start feeling more like themselves.
Get off to like a 3-1 start?
Yeah. I'll say that. But it starts with a Minnesota win, then maybe followed by a Colorado win.
Question number 2.
Who's the best Mr. Irrelevant of all time?
Oh, fudge.
Who's the GOAT?
I got to figure out who that is. Recency bias tells me it's Purdy, but it's too short-lived. There has to be some other Mr. Irrelevance, doesn't there?
Well, wasn't the first one like notable? Like the one that got the name because of him?
Could be. Wasn't Ryan Suckup
Yeah.
Mr. Irrelevant?
He was a kicker, yeah.
I love my kickers. You hear that, Shane? I'll say him. Decorated kicker for somebody that was picked last.
He's the best because he's got a chance to be. Nah, he's not going to be a Hall of Famer, but he'd be in the discussion for quality kickers. I think you have to go with Suckup. That's pretty good, though. That's. I'm looking at a list here. Boy, this is crazy. Some of these guys. Kalen Reed, Chad Quinn, Gerald Christian. I mean, Lonnie Ballantine, Justice Cunningham, Chandler Harnish. Remember that? Big cockstrong quarterback. Ryan Suckup, 2009. Great call on that one.
I'll take Ryan Suckup.
Ramsey Robinson was pretty good, too, though, for Detroit. That's a tough one, but I'll go with Suckup. That's safe. Safe.
I'm all about being safe.
Safe.
I better be safe tonight at
Question
softball.
number 3.
It's 9:30.
You want question 3?
Yeah, sure. Let's take question 3.
Take it or leave it. Georgia will be a double-digit favorite in all of its games.
I don't even know what Georgia's schedule looks like.
I will.
I would lean take it.
No, I know, but LSU, I don't know. Take it or leave it.
They do not play LSU.
They don't. Are they on the? They're on the rotation.
They are on the rotation. They play Tennessee, Florida.
They'll be favored.
Auburn, Kentucky, probably the big ones. Mississippi and Mizzou are in there too. I'd say I'll take it. I'll take double digits.
Oh, this is a cake schedule. I mean, look at this.
Think they march past Vanderbilt? Come on.
No, I actually kind of like Vanderbilt this year. I watched their spring game. They're a lot. They've changed that. They've changed that team in a hurry. God, look at this schedule, though. Are you ready for this? UT Martin.
Yep.
It's double digits. Ball State. Double digits. South Carolina. Double digits. UAB.
Yep. Same thing.
Auburn.
Depends on how Auburn's doing.
They got 3 quarterbacks that haven't won the job yet. That's tough.
Right. But if Auburn did start 4-5-0, maybe it's 8 or 9.
Still in September, so they could clear that up. Kentucky, double digits.
Double. Vandy, double.
Florida.
Again, this is a kind of like a...
I can't get over this schedule.
Yeah, they'll probably go undefeated.
That's crazy. Go Vandy, though. Upset them. Yeah, I'll take it.
Take it?
Take it. That's cake.
Question number 4.
All right, this one's going to be a little tough for a guy who's been drinking. I don't know if I'm going to be able to say all of this correct, but do you guys agree with Zach Harper and the fact that the NBA banned charges to avoid future injuries? If you missed it, he said the charge isn't really a basketball play. It's not really, especially not anymore, not with today's athleticism. The charge is a bailout call for the defense.
So Zach Harper, a writer for The Athletic.
Yeah, I saw Russillo got into this too about changes that you could make. Shane, read me that one more time.
Read the opening question.
Do you guys agree with Zach Harper and the fact that the NBA ban charges to avoid future injuries?
No.
I don't think it needs to be banned either.
No, I wouldn't. They don't call it correctly anyway. I would just move. I like Russillo's idea of moving the circle.
Where?
Further. Yeah. Because guys just jump over you now.
Yep.
But no, I don't want to ban it. Like,
I mean, how often does somebody get injured on a charge? Like, how often? Like, just because it happened to Giannis and we've been talking about it and he landed on his back awkwardly, there have been so many moments where you take a charge and both guys hit the ground hard, but both get up fine. It's just how you hit the ground.
Tell that to my
it's a freak accident.
Ding dong son who's constantly trying to take charges. He's on the ground constantly. Drives me up the wall.
Does he get the call?
9 times. Yeah, I mean he's a good yeah. I mean he does. But it's just hard on his body.
Sure is.
Yeah.
Is that Micah?
No. No. Yeah, well, Mike has gotten much better. He does try to take some charges.
Question number 5.
I almost think there's one missing on this, but I'm going to read it anyway.
Well, then add it in if you want.
Would you rather kick a game-winning field goal, hit a buzzer beater 3, smash a walk-off home run, or hit a 20-foot putt for the W?
Well, what's yours? Let's hear yours.
I would go with the buzzer beater 3, but I would say
because you can't shoot.
You could almost put something in there from hockey.
Okay.
As in,
no, I just watched Rule flipping a wrister from about 30 feet, 40 feet out.
Yeah.
So that's doable.
So what would you do? Like score the game-winning shootout goal?
Yeah.
Maybe a backhander from Aho.
I mean, I wouldn't do the shootout because you're tricky with your hands, but no one's pressuring you. You carry the pressure.
Yeah, but you're
I'm going to take the putt.
I'm taking the putt too.
I'll take the 20-foot putt.
Can you imagine you're at the Masters to win 20 feet out?
Yeah.
Putt that bad boy in.
Can you imagine if I could actually read a green? That'd be amazing.
That'd be cool too.
Yeah, I'm definitely taking the 20
golf every week and I still can't.
I don't know how people do it. I really don't. It's one of the more unbelievable things. Go ahead, Shano.
I don't know. The 3-put. Okay. So the
3-put or the 3-point?
The 3-put. Okay.
The buzzer beater 3. I mean, you're the school hero after that.
Yeah. Big man on campus, BMOC.
Big man on campus. I don't know. I mean, that's tough there. But 20-footer, I mean, that's good too, I suppose. I like it.
Question number 6.
Which bet is more foolish? Ryan Garcia betting the purse or a rando at Caesars betting $10,000 on the Warriors at plus 21.5 last night to win 800. Wow.
Did you see the video of Garcia and Tank?
So the crazier one is the Golden State.
Yeah.
Because I want to be in as much control of my outcome as I think possible. And if I'm in 1-to-1 combat, I'll take me.
$10,000 to win $100. $10,000?
That's ludicrous. That is absolutely.
What if Curry gets hurt in the first 3 minutes and then Klay Thompson, gets ejected with Draymond, and now you have a bunch of scrubs in and they lose by 30?
Yeah,
like anything like that could happen.
Ryan Garcia stands to make about $3 million.
Question number 5.
Why are we backtracking? Are you
stands,
that drunk over there, Shane?
He stands to make about $3 million.
Garcia?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I think that's a crazy bet too, though, because isn't he like a 240 dog?
Yeah. I think Tank.
Maybe not.
He's Tank right now is about 2.5 to 1. Which is that's considerable for a guy that punches like that.
So
I just think people think Garcia.
You said
gets hit too
what
much.
bet's more foolish?
Golden State.
$10,000.
Yeah, Golden State.
But I also think Garcia is in over his head.
You really?
To think that he has the ammunition to bet the purse? Ooh.
So the last fighter I remember doing that in a big time fight was one Bernard Hopkins against Felix Tito Trinidad, and Hopkins won
as the dog.
Yep.
Maybe Garcia's feeling a little love.
Garcia can punch, but man, are you going to be? I want to see him at the weigh-ins. I'm excited for this fight.
Do you think it'll go the distance?
No. Two guys that throw bombs, and they'll want to get it in. I don't see it going the distance, but I reserve the right to change my mind on Friday.
We'll see you tomorrow.